proud of you. I thought you were doing fantastic. I didn't know you were teaching. I thought you were teaching. I should have. I'm preaching. You heard that? I'm preaching. You know, that's it. That's what I appreciate from that.
No, this is from my office.
Bonsoir tout le monde. Good evening, everyone. We're getting started in 1 minute, so if you may take your seats and avoid the chit chat so we can get started. It's going to be a long night ahead of us. So let's get settled in. First of all, I would like to recognize that this General Assembly is happening on unceded and unsurrendered Algonquin territory. Je voudrais que nous prenions un moment pour nous rappeler que cette Assemblée générale est en train d'avoir lieu sur le territoire algonquin non cédé. Bienvenue à l'Assemblée générale de la Fédération étudiante de l'Université d'Ottawa. We would like to thank you for being in attendance today and participating in the democratic process to help shape your undergraduate experience. With the help of our employees and volunteers, the SFUO has hosted a series of events, helped with the creation of dozens of new clubs, engaged with the University of Ottawa administration to advocate for better, more affordable, and more accessible student services. We have improved our relations with all community partners to continue to reach out within the Ottawa community and abroad to build lasting networks that will support the University of Ottawa undergraduate students. La Fédération étudiante de l'Université d'Ottawa, qui représente plus de 35 000 étudiantes et étudiants de premier cycle à l'Université d'Ottawa, promeut les intérêts des étudiantes et étudiants au travers de toutes sortes d'expériences. Nous continuons de nous battre pour améliorer cette institution et assurer des espaces plus sécuritaires, plus accessibles et plus inclusifs pour nos étudiantes et étudiants présents, nos étudiantes et étudiants internationaux et internationaux, nos étudiants et étudiantes queer et trans, nos étudiantes et étudiants racialisés, nos étudiantes et étudiants ayant un handicap, nos étudiantes et étudiants autochtones, nos étudiantes et étudiants francophones et nos étudiantes et étudiants avec une gamme d'autres identités qui sont souvent sous-représentées dans les structures universitaires. This year, we've done lobbying work concerning many issues on our campus, including fighting for an improvement in the quality and variety of our campus food services, implementing an action plan to tackle rape culture and sexualized violence on campus, negotiating a housing strategy to ensure a safer and more inclusive environment for on-campus residents, joining the task force to indigenize and decolonize the culture of this campus, defying different systems of oppression and discrimination, dismantling the stigmas and stereotypes surrounding mental health, revamping the UPass health plan and clubs programs, addressing an opioid crisis problem, rebranding the SFUO and restructuring its governance entirely, boosting campus morale and student experiences, continuing to push for more accessible post-secondary institutions education system, and more. Nous sommes heureux de pouvoir travailler avec et pour les étudiantes et étudiants cette année, et nous voulons vous souhaiter la meilleure des chances dans votre travaux et vos examens finaux. En solidarité, votre conseil exécutif 2017-2018. So right now, I would like to introduce to you our chair of this assembly, Anne-Marie Roy. Anne-Marie Roy is the chair recommended by the chair of our Board of Administration, Bill and Art. Anne-Marie Roy has served 3 years as an executive of the SFUO between 2012-2015, 1 year as VP Communications and 2 years as president. Then after this, she served as 2 years as a deputy chairperson of the Canadian Federation of Students on the national executive level, representing over 650,000 students. She has an extensive experience in chairing board meetings, general assemblies, including general assemblies that have over 400, 500 people. If you have any questions, Anne-Marie will be there. The job of the chairperson is just to make sure that Robert's Rules of Order are applied. We're following the regulations and bylaws of our Constitution, that a speaker's list is taken and that everybody has the time allocated for them to speak while respecting gender parity. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Anne-Marie Roy.
Well, thank you for having me with you folks this evening. It's always a pleasure to be back on campus. So before I get started, because normally I know that these general assemblies are supposed to be bilingual, just by a show of hands, can I see who here might have some challenges understanding proceedings that might take place in English? Okay, good to know. And so at any point in time, I will switch from French to English and repeat the important information. But if at any point in time, if anybody has a question, feel free to ask that question in either or languages. Donc, pour répéter en français, je vais répéter le plus possible en anglais et en français, mais si à un moment vous avez une question ou vous ne comprenez pas quelque chose, que ce soit moi ou une autre intervention qui a été faite, n'hésitez pas à poser des questions, ça va me faire plaisir de traduire du mieux que je peux. Je n'ai pas étudié en traduction, mais je parle quand même les deux langues, donc on va pouvoir se débrouiller ensemble. So before we dive into the agenda, I just really quickly wanted to go through, Cole's notes of Robert's Rules of Order so that all of you can participate fully in this meeting. And so I just wanted to go through some common procedures, I guess you might call them, that you might observe either here or at the board level for the SFUO. Donc, très rapidement, j'aimerais passer à travers certaines des procédures de Robert's Rules of Order. Je veux tout simplement que vous puissiez participer pleinement à la rencontre. Donc, c'est souvent les procédures les plus communes qu'on va pouvoir observer dans la rencontre. Donc, c'est ça. Donc, je vais commencer. There are 3 different points that are most often raised at these meetings. The first one would be a point of order. So if at some point in time, debate, discussions, or myself, for example, I'm skipping a point on the agenda, or one of the Robert's rules is not being followed properly, anybody can go to the microphone at that time and say, point of order. And at that point in time, you have an opportunity to state which specific rule is not being followed at that point in time. Donc, le premier point, c'est un point d'ordre. Donc, c'est un rappel à l'ordre. Si, à un moment, pendant la rencontre, on ne suit pas les règlements ou l'ordre du jour tel qu'adopté, vous pouvez toujours passer le microphone et faire un point d'ordre. Donc, rappeler la séance à l'ordre et à ce moment-là, dire quel règlement, justement, là, on ne respecte pas. Donc, c'est ce qui assure, justement, qu'on puisse procéder de façon juste et équitable. Point of personal privilege is a point that you would make if
if you're something personal is preventing you from participating in the meeting. And what I mean by personal, for example, if it's really hot and you're having a difficult time to concentrate, or if there's a lot of chattering happening. I know sometimes people like to debate or whisper amongst each other. At that point in time, you can come to the microphone and say, point of personal privilege. I'd really appreciate it if folks could listen and make their interventions at the mic and avoid side chatter so that I can fully understand and participate in this meeting. Donc, un point de privilège personnel, à ce moment-là, c'est un point qu'on soulève s'il y a quelque chose qui vous prévient de participer pleinement dans la rencontre, mais qui a peut-être un impact plus personnalisé. Donc, par exemple, s'il fait vraiment chaud et vous voulez voir si on peut peut-être changer la température dans la salle, ou s'il y a du chuchotement alentour et ça vous prévient de pouvoir bien comprendre les discussions, à ce moment-là, vous pouvez intervenir au microphone et demander à ce que vous soyez accommodé. OK, donc ça, c'était les points que je voulais soulever. Pour les résolutions, on va avoir quelqu'un qui va présenter la résolution et un appuyeur avant qu'on puisse partir au débat. Et on va avoir 3 personnes qui vont se prononcer en faveur, 3 personnes qui vont se prononcer contre la motion avant de passer au vote. Cette assemblée-là vous appartient. Donc, si on a passé les 3 personnes en faveur et contre une motion, et qu'à ce moment-là, vous voulez qu'il y ait plus de débats, vous pouvez passer une résolution pour demander qu'il y ait d'autres personnes ou qu'on rallonge la liste des personnes qui peuvent se prononcer, soit en faveur ou contre une motion. La chose à garder en tête, par contre, c'est qu'il faut avoir un nombre équivalent de personnes qui peuvent se prononcer en faveur ou contre une motion. Donc, si par exemple, vous voulez qu'on ait un plus long débat et que vous voulez rajouter 2 personnes pour se prononcer soit en faveur d'une motion, il faut aussi comprendre qu'il y a 2 personnes qui peuvent se prononcer contre la motion à ce moment-là aussi. The next point that I wanted to raise was that all motions need a mover or seconder. Actually, we might already have that though. Yes, okay. So we already have movers and seconders by how these motions were presented to the SFUO. But as we're engaging in debates, we're going to have 3 speakers in favor, 3 speakers against, and then we're automatically going to go to a vote unless somebody wishes to extend the speakers list. And so at any point in time, if you see that we've exhausted the speakers list for folks in favor or against a particular motion and you'd like to add something, you can move a motion to extend the speakers list. The thing to keep in mind if you do that is you have to have the same number of speakers. You can only extend the list by the same amount of speakers in favor and against the motion. So if you move to extend the speakers list by 2 in favor, you're also extending the speakers list by 2 against. At any point in time, if in the middle of debate you feel like folks in the room are probably all on the same page and you feel like the debate we're kind of turning in circles, you can call the question. Now, if you're going to call the question, you need to have 2/3 of the assembly vote in favor of that, because at that point in time, you're limiting debate. And so, rather than having a simple majority, as per Robert's Rules of Order, you need to have 2/3 of the assembly vote in favor of calling the question. Donc, on peut aussi appeler la question. Donc, un appel à la question, c'est de passer au vote. Et à ce moment-là, pour passer au vote, c'est important d'avoir 2/3 de l'Assemblée qui votent en faveur. Lorsqu'on passe au vote, on limite le débat à ce moment-là. Donc, c'est pour cette raison-là qu'au lieu d'avoir une simple majorité, il faut avoir 2/3 de la salle qui votent en faveur pour passer au vote. Et c'est le type de motion qu'on va peut-être vouloir apporter lorsqu'on sent que la salle, on est pas mal tous à la même longueur d'onde, on tourne un petit peu en rond, le débat avance pas beaucoup, à ce moment-là, vous pouvez demander qu'on passe au vote directement. Si jamais, moi, dans ma manière de faciliter la rencontre, vous croyez que soit j'enfreins à la Constitution ou encore je ne respecte pas Robert's Rules of Order à la lettre, à ce moment-là, vous pouvez remettre en question mon verdict. Il y a toujours place à l'amélioration. Mon interprétation, que ce soit de la Constitution ou de Robert's Rules of Order, peut certainement être mise en question par vous autres. Donc, si par exemple vous posez une question, vous faites un point d'ordre et à ce moment-là, je dis non, moi, de ce que je comprends des règlements, voici la décision que je prends et que vous êtes en désaccord, à ce moment-là, vous pouvez essayer de débattre un petit peu ma position. Et en faisant ça, il faut avoir un vote. Donc, pour renverser ma décision, il faut que 2/3 de la salle, encore une fois, non, une majorité simple de la salle soit en accord avec votre position. Donc à ce moment-là, moi, mon verdict est renversé et on procède tel que l'Assemblée le veut. Another point that I wanted to raise was challenging the chair. So I will, to the best of my ability, interpret the rules, Robert's Rules of Order, but the Constitution as well. And if you raise a point of order and I disagree with you and I, make a particular call on the meeting, and you still feel very strongly that I'm in the wrong, that I'm the one who's not interpreting the rules appropriately, you can do what we call challenge the chair. And so at that point in time, we both have an opportunity to defend our positions. And through a simple majority vote, my call can be reversed, or if the person challenging the chair doesn't have a majority of folks here in the assembly at that point in time, my call or my decision will be upheld. I will follow the Constitution or the bylaw regarding General Assemblies quite strictly. And so that means that as we go through the agenda, for example, the question period is set to 20 minutes. And so I will have a timer to make sure that we stick with 20 minutes. As I understand as well in the Constitution, speakers who make interventions on motions have 2 minutes to speak. And so I won't be rude about it, but if you're rambling on and it's been, 2.5 minutes, I might look at you or try to say, hey, wrap it up. We got to keep the debate going, and everybody wants to have an opportunity to speak on various motions. If, of course, you want to extend the question period past the 20 minutes, that is also something that is the will of this assembly. So when the 20 minutes is up, I'll let you folks know. If somebody wants to extend the question period, that's the will of this room. Donc, moi, je vais faire, c'est poursuivre les règlements de la Constitution et Robert's Rules of Order à la lettre, ce qui signifie que les règlements concernant les assemblées générales, c'est quelque chose aussi que je vais suivre à la lettre. Ce qui signifie, par exemple, pour la période de questions de l'exécutif, c'est 20 minutes pour la période de questions. Par contre, si vous voulez rallonger la période de questions, moi, après les 20 minutes, je vais vous faire signe et à ce moment-là, vous pouvez toujours présenter une motion pour rallonger la période de questions. Je voulais aussi, sur ce point-là, vous laisser savoir que pour les interventions, c'est 2 minutes par intervention selon la Constitution de la SFUO. Je vais être très polie. Je ne vous interromprai pas de façon abrupte, mais je vais peut-être vous faire signe. Là, si on arrive à 2 minutes, 2 minutes et demie, je vais peut-être vous dire, regarde, il faut avancer, il faut faire le point pour permettre aux autres gens qui veulent faire des interventions de pouvoir le faire. À tout moment, si vous avez des questions, n'hésitez pas. Anytime, if you have any questions, if you're not sure what point of order or what point of information you might want to use, you can just go to the microphone, tell me, hey, this is the intention, this is what I'm trying to do, and I'm happy to help and facilitate that. Donc, à tout moment, si vous n'êtes pas certain quel point d'ordre, quel point vous voulez soulever, faites tout simplement me dire, voici mon intention, et ça me fait plaisir de vous guider pour qu'on puisse avoir un débat. Sur cette note-là, on this note, the first motion on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. And so I believe that for that, we don't have a mover and seconder yet, so I'll be seeking a mover for this motion.
Point of order.
Yes.
Motion to amend the agenda.
Okay. So there's a motion here to amend the agenda. Is there a seconder for this motion?
Do we have 4?
For the personal privilege,
Yep.
we need to know what the motion is before we can move to a second.
So I've just been informed actually that we don't have quorum. And so for this reason, at this point in time, we can't amend the agenda. And so we'll just have to proceed in order.
Can we have head count?
The last head count was at 145. And quorum is 262.
All right.
Okay? So I guess we don't need to approve the agenda. We'll just go on with the agenda. And so at this point in time, we're going to be, I guess, informally following through with the agenda, and it's the executive update. So I'll let the executives take it over at this point in time.
Sorry, I have a question. I don't know.
how this works.
This is my first time.
Yeah, of course.
I'm just wondering, is there a way to have a majority vote to overturn that decision?
No. As per the Constitution, that's without quorum. This assembly has limited powers. In fact, if we get to the point on the agenda where we're supposed to be debating motions, there will be no debate on the motions because this assembly doesn't have the power to do that. Practice with the SFUO has been that we still present the executive updates, we entertain a question period. If by the end of question period we do have quorum, we can continue with the agenda and proceed with votes. But this body does not have this power.
Okay, well, I would like to know what the motion is. Is there any way that we could do a vote to override that, the choice not to have a head count? Because I would really like to hear what the motion is.
As I understand in the Constitution, the only body that could override that decision at this point in time is the Board of Administration. Okay. And so the Board of Administration in the Constitution dictates the powers that this General Assembly has. On its own, this General Assembly can't decide to overturn that decision and throw quorum out the window.
Okay.
So quorum is there just to make sure, and the bylaws are written just to make sure that there's a fair process, that folks know ahead of time if they want to vote on motions, if they want to have a vote on that. Folks need to be mobilized and come to the meeting and participate in that. Otherwise, this General Assembly is very limited with what it can accomplish.
Okay, so is there another General Assembly then when we can raise that motion?
Second semester. I don't have do we have the date? It should be in March.
Okay.
The motion. The motions that were on the agenda were only submitted in hard copies, and so they haven't been put up online.
Okay. So then there's no way to know what the motion is.
Okay, can I?
Because my concern is just that if it's something that's a really pressing issue, then there's just not the chance for students to intervene.
For sure. So I will read them. And, oh, that's the same one. And on this note, any motions that are not debated here at the General Assembly will be debated at the Board of Administration. So if we don't reach quorum tonight, hopefully we do, but if we don't, at the next Board of Administration meeting is when these motions are going to be discussed.
Do you know when that is? Sorry.
Okay, there's a special meeting of the board tomorrow. However, these motions are on the regularly scheduled board meeting, which is set to take place in December.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So just before we dive into the executive presentation, I will read the motions in both languages. Okay. Proposition de motion sur le salaire de l'exécutif. Étant donné la situation financière de la FEUO et les mesures d'austérité imposées aux employés et services, étant donné que le salaire actuel des membres de l'exécutif est supérieur à la moyenne des postes semblables dans d'autres syndicats étudiants canadiens, étant donné que les postes de l'exécutif sont attendus d'être au service de la population étudiante et non uniquement une source de revenus, étant donné qu'il n'y a pas de raison pour justifier la différence importante de salaire entre les employés et l'exécutif, qu'il soit résolu que le salaire des membres de l'exécutif de la FEUO soit fixé au taux horaire de 15 $ par heure pour un total de 20 heures par semaine, qu'il soit aussi résolu que toute future hausse de salaire soit appuyée par l'Assemblée générale. Whereas the financial situation at the SFUO has warranted austerity measures for staff and services, whereas the current salary for members of the executive is higher than the Canadian average for similar positions in student unions, whereas it is assumed that executive positions should be incentivized by a desire to serve student interests and not personal financial gain, whereas there is no justification for the large difference in salaries between staff and executive, be it resolved that the salary for members of the SFUO executive be set at an hourly rate of $15 per hour for a total of 20 hours per week, be it further resolved that all subsequent salary increase are required to be approved by the General Assembly. Now, there's just one point that I would like to raise. If we do get to this motion this evening, one of the two be it resolved clauses I would have to rule out of order. Particularly the second one that resolves that all subsequent salary increases are required to be approved by the General Assembly, simply because, as per your Constitution, that is a motion that the board would have to pass. And so you could certainly make a recommendation to the Board of Administration through this motion. However, the second be it resolved clause cannot be voted on and adopted here as per your own Constitution. Donc, pour traduire, de ce que je comprends, selon les règlements de la Constitution, il y a la moitié de cette résolution-là qui est hors d'ordre. Donc, particulièrement la deuxième résolution concernant l'approbation des hausses salariales aux assemblées générales futures. Simplement parce que, tel que je comprends et interprète la Constitution de la FIO, c'est le conseil d'administration qui aurait le pouvoir, justement, d'adopter une résolution comme ça concernant des futures hausses salariales.
Can you just tell us which section of the Constitution that is?
It was adopted through the corporate maintenance report motions that were adopted last year, specifically section 3.13.4. Now, this is not up for debate at this point in time. However, if we do reach quorum and get to the point on the agenda where we are debating motions, you can certainly raise that point once again. I just wanted to answer your question, but that is where I'm seeing this. OK? Bon, je vais procéder avec la lecture de la deuxième résolution. Étant donné que les étudiants n'ont pas réellement voix au chapitre sur le contenu des cours universitaires, il n'existe pas de collaboration entre les professeurs et les étudiants pour pouvoir produire un programme démocratique. Exemple, à l'UQAM, le syllabus des cours universitaires est discuté entre professeurs et étudiants au début du semestre. La situation géographique de l'université sur un territoire non cédé, qu'il soit résolu que la FIO a pour objectif de promouvoir une université démocratique. La FIO a pour objectif de sensibiliser les étudiants aux questions coloniales indigènes. Par conséquent, la FIO s'organisera pour une plus grande participation des étudiants et étudiantes dans la définition du syllabus qui serait prise en compte par les professeurs, et B, l'introduction d'un cours obligatoire pour les étudiants traitant du thème de la colonisation. Par conséquent, l'Assemblée générale mandate le conseil d'administration de A, contacter les autorités académiques compétentes pour discuter de ces deux thématiques, B, inclure les personnes intéressées par ces thématiques dans les discussions, notamment dans le cas de cours traitant de la colonisation, et C, soumettra un rapport du développement de cette motion à la prochaine Assemblée générale. So I'll read the second motion in English. Whereas students do not have a say on the core syllabus at the university, there is no collaboration between professors and students to produce a democratic syllabus which encompasses everyone's voice. Example, at the UQAM, the University of Quebec in Montreal, the syllabus is discussed with the students in class at the beginning of the year, and students bring forth modifications and improvements. The geographical location of the university is on colonized land. Be it resolved that the SFUO promotes a democratic university, the SFUO increases awareness of Indigenous and colonial questions. As a result, the SFUO must A, promote more participation of students in the elaboration of the syllabus, which would be taken into account by professors, and B, the implementation of a mandatory course on the theme of colonization. As a result, the GA demands that the Board of Administration contact the competent administration to discuss these two themes, and B, include all individuals interested in these themes in the discussion, especially regarding Indigenous and colonialist questions, and C, submit a report concerning the development and implementation of the motion at the next General Assembly. So these are the two motions for information purposes. As I said, once we reach quorum and that point on the agenda, we can have further discussion on that. But until then, I will let the executives take it over. Thank you.
OK, alors, en ce moment, on va procéder au rapport de l'exécutif. Je vais passer la parole, on va aller sur la présentation, je vais passer la parole aux membres de l'exécutif respectif. So for the members of the executive, when your part comes in, please make sure to explain it. I will ask two things before we get started, and even throughout the General Assembly. As a student federation, we're always striving to promote safer spaces. So just make sure it is your right as a student to come up to the mic and say whatever you want to say. But make sure when you're addressing things, you address them in a respectful manner and reciprocate the professionalism of the executive when you speak. The other thing too, I know a lot of people are really passionate about some of the motions that are proposed or the questions that they have, but I would ask the room to avoid, if you want to support through having speaking rights through the mic, avoid things like clapping or, whatever, snapping your fingers or whatever it is, just so that we make sure that everybody is comfortable and safe in this space. This is a procedure that we also follow in our board meetings every month and in any other town halls or assemblies that we have. Thank you. So we're going to move on to the executive updates. And the first thing that I have is campaigns. I'll pass the word to Excel. And also, I just want to mention that it is live streaming, so if you have friends that weren't able to attend and they still want to address or comment on some of the points that the execs are making, just let them know that it is available on the SFUO website, Facebook page.
Bonjour à tous, je m'appelle Axel, votre vice-président aux affaires universitaires, et je vais vous faire une brève mise à jour de ce que mes services ont accompli depuis le début du mois de mai jusqu'à ce jour. On a démarré avec deux campagnes. On devait démarrer l'année avec deux campagnes, une sur la violence sexuelle et une autre sur la santé mentale. Les discussions sur la campagne sur la santé mentale ont commencé en ce moment. On avait eu des discussions préliminaires avec l'administration. Elles auront lieu tout au long du second semestre, avec la semaine sur la santé mentale qui va démarrer la semaine du 24 janvier, et puis plusieurs activités et objectifs qu'on doit accomplir avant la fin du second semestre. La campagne sur la violence sexuelle est en cours de terminaison. L'objectif principal était de collecter des données et d'inciter l'administration à collecter des données afin qu'on puisse avoir des chiffres tangibles sur ce qui se passe et sur comment rectifier la situation. On a eu un sondage qu'on a partagé à la population étudiante dans son ensemble. On a eu des réponses et à travers ces réponses, on a conçu des vidéos promotionnelles pour pouvoir exprimer le ressenti des étudiants par rapport à la situation de la violence sexuelle sur le campus de façon anonyme. Le programme de la UPAS. Le programme de la UPAS cette année a été un franc succès. Les lignes étaient beaucoup plus courtes que l'année passée. Le taux d'attente l'année passée pouvait monter jusqu'à 5 heures. Cette année, aucun étudiant n'a attendu plus de 40 minutes, même durant le temps des heures de pointe. On avait des stations rechargeables, 3 différentes bornes rechargeables qui allaient en ordre alphabétique, ce qui a réduit le taux d'attente d'au moins 60%. Cette année, si je peux vous donner des chiffres, on a eu 36 000 étudiants. Plus de 36 000 étudiants ont reçu leur UPAS cette année, dont 12 000 qui l'ont reçu à travers les stations rechargeables. 1 000 étudiants ont été qualifiés pour une exemption, et puis 52 étudiants se sont vus refuser leur exemption cette année. Je tiens à noter que, pour ceux qui se posent la question, on ne peut pas exempter un étudiant s'il ne qualifie pas selon les critères d'exemption de la UPAS. Donc certains étudiants viennent nous voir, ils ont des situations difficiles, mais malheureusement on ne peut pas les exempter parce qu'on a des critères spécifiques à suivre.
C'est bon. Par rapport à la bourse de l'étudiant du mois, tous les mois, 2 étudiants ou étudiantes, un ou une de l'Ontario et l'autre de l'extérieur de l'Ontario, reçoivent une bourse de $500 chacun ou chacune. Cette bourse est offerte en collaboration avec les services de développement de l'Université d'Ottawa. Toutes les informations pour postuler sont disponibles sur le site web et ils ont aussi été envoyés aux derniers courriers qui ont été envoyés aux étudiants.
En plus du programme de la UPAS, je supervise un service, le Centre des droits étudiants. Cette année, ils ont reçu au-dessus de 282 cas, reliés entre autres à la fraude scolaire, la révision de notes, le changement de faculté. Le Centre des droits étudiants a entre autres organisé une campagne pour mobiliser l'administration parce qu'ils avaient des problèmes systémiques par rapport à la façon dont l'administration recevait les cas de changement de cours, de plagiat.
là, j'ai souffert un slide. Et je reviens. C'est quoi l'exercice? Alors, je serai vite, mais je parlerai en anglais et en français. Alors, sur le point de violence sexuelle, so one of the big parts of my mandate is making sure we're working on sexual violence prevention on campus. It's also one of the biggest topics that we talk about, unfortunately, still to this day. I hate being one of those people that's like, in 2017, we're still talking about this, but we're still talking about sexual violence prevention as the rates are going up higher and higher. So I sit on the Sexual Violence Prevention Committee of the President, and essentially right now we're in our one-year review of the policy. It's not something that was mandated by universities when it comes to like the creation and review of sexual violence policies, but it's something that the university is trying to do. Because I think a lot of the time when we have conversations about sexual violence prevention, we also forget how intersectional and diverse the approach has to be. And so right now, the policy was created, and I don't want to trash the university for creating a policy because they created it, but also there are a lot of holes that need to be filled and a lot of things that need to be added and addressed. So the work over, well now I guess I only have 5 months. Don't worry folks, I'm almost gone. Will be making sure that we are properly addressing those issues, whether it is making sure that when we talk about survivor base, it's really representing the different identities and experiences of different students, because I think also it's important to realize that like there is no one-size-fits-all way of dealing with sexual violence prevention. So it includes, I think, like the thing that I'm hoping to accomplish before the end of my mandate is creating a sexual violence prevention network on campus so that students can talk to each other instead of having to go through administration that very often puts up a lot of barriers to students expressing their experiences with sexual violence. Alors, la prévention de la violence sexuelle est une grosse partie de mon mandat. Je m'assois sur le comité contre la violence sexuelle du président. Et puis, juste maintenant, on est en train de regarder la politique qui a été créée l'année dernière pour être sûr que on est juste en train de rester à date avec la politique. Alors, juste maintenant, on est en train d'essayer d'être sûr de travailler à rendre la politique. Et je sais que je suis sûre que les membres autour de ce comité ont hâte que je sois partie parce que c'est important de continuer. C'est important de continuer à ramener le fait qu'on doit faire plus pour les étudiants. On a créé une politique, mais il y a toujours beaucoup de travail qui doit être fait pour bien adresser les besoins de nos étudiants. Parce qu'une chose qui arrive très souvent, c'est qu'on a créé la politique, mais il y a toujours beaucoup d'étudiants qui sont en train de, un, vivre la violence sexuelle sur le campus, qui, deux, sont pas en train d'être supportés par leur université, leur administration, et trois, ne sont pas en train de donner des ressources alternatives. Alors, j'espère être capable de, un, créer un réseau à travers l'université pour que les étudiants puissent aller se parler à l'un et l'autre à propos de leur expérience et être capable d'avoir le support qu'ils ont besoin. Et après, la deuxième partie, c'est, so the second part is mental health. So that's something that just been following Phil's lead, where I'm excited to see the campaign that we'll be doing on mental health, but I also sit on the well-being committee of the president. It's interesting, well-being includes a lot of things on this campus. Everybody has such different experiences with this campus and accessing education at this university, but the one thing that we talk a lot about, which is important, is mental health, because it is something that affects a very large amount of our students still, and one thing that we know about the University of Ottawa is that they do not address mental health in any type of way, to be honest, because still we're hearing about extremely long wait times, we're hearing about professors that are turning away students when it comes to accommodations. I think the policy was adopted this year that you have to get a doctor's note on the day that you are missing at the time that you're missing your exam, which is one of those things, like if I'm having mental health issues, like I'm not going to leave my house to go see a doctor just because you need a doctor's note. So one of the big things is one, working on making sure that the university is creating more resources for students when it comes to mental health, but also when it comes to like talking about couch conversations or peer-to-peer support, which is something that we see in communities that works very often, in one, addressing the very diverse ways that people need to be able to access mental health services. So I think one of the things that we get the most is that
people will go to a mental health service provider and not be able to identify or properly get the support that they need. So peer-to-peer support essentially gives people not only the continuity and consistency that sometimes they're lacking at the university if they even get to see a counselor, but it also just allows people to be able to choose and kind of cater a support. Obviously, it's not like peer-to-peer support isn't the same as counseling, but it's also just giving students another resource. Alors, pour le côté santé mentale, oui, c'est juste travailler, je m'assois sur le comité de bien-être pour les étudiants de l'université du président. Et puis, cette année, on est en train de regarder des différentes méthodes de façon qu'on peut amener plus de ressources pour les étudiants parce que jusqu'à aujourd'hui, on est toujours en train de voir que l'université est vraiment pas en train de donner aucune ressource tangible aux étudiants, ou même proche d'être assez pour les étudiants quand ça vient aux problèmes de santé mentale. Et puis c'est quelque chose qu'on est en train de voir affecter de plus en plus les étudiants, et spécialement parce qu'on n'est pas en train d'adresser le problème. Alors, autre qu'être en train de s'asseoir sur ce comité, une autre chose, c'est juste en train de regarder à d'autres façons que dans notre communauté étudiante, et entre l'un et l'autre, on peut s'entraider. Alors, comme j'ai dit, le support pair à pair, très souvent, est quelque chose que on voit dans les communautés qui peut donner une autre ressource aux étudiants. Alors, oui, ça serait...
Merci, Lina. Prochain point, c'est l'équipe Impériaux, UOCERT. Pour celles et ceux qui ne connaissent pas ce service-là, it's a student of the University of Ottawa Emergency Response Team. It's a levy-funded service of the SFUO that provides 24/7 emergency medical coverage to students, faculty, or visitors on campus. In the past by-election that we just had in October, there was a referendum to add a winter levy for this service that passed, and the SFUO is currently in the process of making sure that this referendum is applied.
Okay, so the Women's Resource Center is one of the centers that we send students to the most. It is one of the ulterior resources that we send students to when it comes to especially sexual violence prevention. But it also is a center meant to provide, so I supervise a lot of the, I supervise all of the equity-based services. And so the services are responsible for addressing the different needs of marginalized populations on this campus. So the Women's Resource Center is a really amazing space for femme-identified folks that sometimes just want to sit. They also do active listening. We host events. We have free menstrual products, which is something that I'm hoping that the university will start implementing before also the time that I'm gone, but also it's just something that we provide before then, as well as the Parent Center, which I will get to after. But yes, the Women's Resource Center is essentially just a space for femme-identified folks to kind of get the support that they need in any way that they need it. I think a lot of the time also it's important that understand that these equity-based services have a mandate, but it also is user-based. So it's meant to kind of cater to the needs of the students and be able to accommodate those students, because we know that that's often something that you can't get on campus. Alors, le Centre de ressources des femmes est essentiellement un espace pour les personnes qui s'identifient comme femmes. C'est un espace où on peut juste aller s'asseoir, si on veut juste être en dehors de l'espace universitaire, ou si on veut. Aussi, le centre offre des événements, des produits mensuels gratuits. Aussi, c'est un espace, on a des événements, et encore une fois, c'est juste un espace qui est très flexible aux besoins de la personne qui est là, mais essentiellement, les personnes qui sont là sont entraînées pour être capables d'adresser les besoins des étudiants. Après ça, il y a the iHouse. So the International House, one thing that we know is that international students face a whole lot of barriers when it comes to education, and a lot of the time they're things that we don't properly address, from tuition fees to the culture shocks to the sometimes language barriers to the differences of just like coming to a new place and like not having necessarily sometimes people around you. So the iHouse is meant to be a support system for international students to go. It's also meant to fight for the rights of students. And so one of the things that they'll be having is a Know Your Rights event, which will talk about things like rights when it comes to education, housing, when it comes to just the law even outside of the university. But yeah, it's a space also holds events, has resources, has connections within the community just to make sure that international students have a place to go and have people looking out and backing them on this campus, which we know often does not do that work. Alors la Maison internationale est un espace pour les étudiants internationaux. Très souvent, qu'est-ce qu'on voit aux universités et sur ces campus, c'est que les étudiants internationaux sont très souvent oubliés, ou on pense qu'ils devraient être contents d'avoir été laissés sur ce pays magnifique, et puis ils nous doivent tellement, et puis même s'ils payent des frais de scolarité extrêmement plus élevés que nous et ont beaucoup moins de ressources. Alors, ouais, la Maison internationale tient des événements, ont des ressources, des connexions dans la communauté, et puis est supposé être un espace que les étudiants internationaux peuvent aller pour être confortables. Après ça, on a le centre du bilinguisme. Alors, so one of the big things that we deal with on this campus is that we say that we're a bilingual campus, we invite francophone students in, and then the first day we're like, oui, comment ça va? On est là pour vous, ouais! Et puis après, jour 2, hi, how are you? Oh, you don't understand? That's really unfortunate. So the Bilingualism Center is meant to be a space that will advocate for francophone rights, because at the end of the day, that's a lot of the time who is forgotten on these campuses and who we're not talking about. So yeah, it's also a space where you can get free French tutoring, free French and English tutoring if you want to learn either language. They also do GGGs, which are specific to like parts of language learning. If you want a more specialized topic, sometimes if you're in a class and you want to be able to understand a specific topic, you can go there and they'll have a GGD kind of cater to that, because a lot of the time you're probably not alone in needing help with that specific topic. So the Bilingualism Center is that space. They also host events to make sure that we're being fair when it comes to both sides. Alors le Centre bilinguisme est là pour être sûr qu'on est en train d'adresser les besoins des étudiants francophones qui sont très souvent oubliés sur ce campus. Je pense qu'on est une université bilingue, mais très souvent le bilingue, ça veut dire on parle anglais, puis des fois on parle en français quand on le veut, mais quand on le veut pas, on l'oublie. Alors c'est important de réaliser que cette université doit adresser et bien vite le monde des deux langues. Alors c'est notre job d'être sûr qu'on est en train de créer un environnement pour les personnes des deux populations. Alors le Centre de bilinguisme est là pour avoir des événements et aussi pour créer un espace et puis pour se battre pour les droits des étudiants francophones. Ouais. Après ça, il y a le Centre de la fierté. So the Pride Center is a space for LGBTQ students, LGBTQ2IA plus students that a lot of the time don't have a lot of spaces or are marginalized on these campuses. So it's kind of, a lot of the time if you go to that service, you'll see people kind of just like sitting there and talking and just hanging around, just because it is that safe space for them that they sometimes can't find around this campus. So one thing that they're doing soon is the clothing swap for trans students or trans youth. Like it's for folks that need it. It's not specific to just students, but it's essentially things like that, hosting events to address those needs, making sure that they're like we're having conversations about the needs of LGBTQ2IA plus students on this campus and creating spaces and advocating for their rights, because I think a lot of the time when we talk, one of the things that we say a lot is intersectionality and diversity, and forgetting what does that mean and like who does that involve. So making sure that we're creating those spaces, and that's one of them. Alors le Centre de la fierté est là pour adresser les besoins de la communauté LGBTQ+. Alors, ouais, très souvent qu'est-ce qu'on voit, on sait que ces conversations arrivent, spécialement quand ça vient aux étudiants trans, qu'il n'y a pas vraiment des espaces pour qu'ils soient confortables ou se sentent en sécurité. Alors ce centre, quand on rentre, très souvent qu'est-ce qu'on verra, c'est des étudiants qui sont assis juste en train de se parler, juste en train d'utiliser l'espace pour être avec un et l'autre et être confortable sans avoir besoin d'avoir peur de d'autres personnes en train d'être autour d'eux. Ou juste, ouais, à la fin de la journée, c'est une place pour qu'ils se sentent en sécurité, n'importe qu'est-ce que ça ressemble pour eux. Le centre aussi offre des événements. Un événement qu'ils sont en train d'avoir bientôt, c'est un échange d'avis. J'espère, je m'excuse si ma traduction n'est pas correcte, mais ils vont être en train d'avoir un événement où le monde peut amener des habits et puis après les étudiants pourront venir chercher des habits. Parce que très souvent, je pense que quelque chose qu'on oublie, c'est que c'est pas facile, même quand ça vient à l'achat ou être capable de s'habiller, qu'on est en train d'aller à travers n'importe quelle partie d'une transition. Alors, ça va être un événement où ils peuvent faire ça en sécurité. Mais ouais, généralement, c'est juste un espace pour être sûr qu'on est en train d'adresser ses besoins. Et puis, mon dernier centre, j'ai presque fini, est the Center for Students with Disabilities. So the Center for Students with Disabilities, I know that students here have seen or have heard about the visual arts building? The visual arts building where essentially like a lot of the classes are held, and if you are unable to make it to your classes, a lot of the time we suggest that you drop the program because of, let's say, physical accessibility barriers. And so the Center for Students with Disabilities is essentially there to, one, look at the campus and the ways in which it may be inaccessible, and also like, once again, like one thing that I'll repeat is all of the centers that I supervise are essentially spaces for students to kind of feel safe and heard. So students are also able to go there and kind of talk about their needs and see how the center or the SFUO can support them in that. So we also have things like we rent out wheelchairs. They're actually hosting ASL classes, free ASL classes for folks that want to go learn. But yeah, it's a center kind of open to ensuring that we're doing some work to increase the accessibility on campus, both the two visible inaccessibilities and invisible inaccessibilities. And especially on a campus where, like, a lot of the time the response that we get when we talk about accessibility is that these are historical buildings and we can't touch historical buildings because someone has yet to give me a reason, so I'm waiting. Alors le centre pour les étudiants avec incapacité est essentiellement un centre qui est là pour advoquer.
Pour militer.
Militer, merci. Pour militer et pour travailler contre l'inaccessibilité sur ce campus et être sûr qu'on est en train d'adresser les besoins des étudiants quand ça vient aux problèmes d'accessibilité. Et c'est important aussi on remarque que les problèmes avec l'accessibilité peuvent être des choses physiques, ça peut être des choses mentaux, mais ce n'est pas nécessairement toujours des choses qu'on peut voir. Alors, encore une fois, comme tous les services que je supervise, c'est un espace où les étudiants peuvent aller, peuvent parler avec les coordinatrices qui sont là, et puis avoir des conversations pour leurs besoins, qu'est-ce qu'ils aimeraient voir sur ce campus, mais aussi le centre est aussi là pour évaluer le campus et puis être capable de travailler sur ou faire des remarques sur les problèmes d'accessibilité sur ce campus, parce que je pense que tout le monde peut voir et qu'est-ce qu'on sait qui existe sur ce campus, c'est que les bâtiments et puis les espaces et même juste l'éducation en général est très inaccessible. J'ai fini. Merci.
On va passer à Catherine.
Bonjour à tous et à toutes. Moi, je suis Catherine. Je suis la vice-présidente au service et aux communications. And it's me running the live stream, so if I'm not making very much eye contact, it's just because I'm glued to devices, not because I don't want to smile at you. So, I'm just going to be talking about my services. Later, I'll be talking about the communications. I have a double-barreled portfolio. It's 5 services, and then also to the marketing department. First service is the food bank. They held their big annual event called Sugar Eat, which got a lot of food, which is great. You can always donate to the food bank. They literally always need food. They always need volunteers. And if you want food or need food, please feel free to drop by. It's in the basement of the UCU. And then the second service I have, it's the SDC, Sustainable Development Center, and it's located in the UCU as well. So some of their programming involves that they have the farmers markets with the delicious Indian food that was there a little while ago. And they also have a dish lending service. So say, for example, you are on a club exec, you are part of a Fed body, you can go and borrow dishes from the SDC, which is great and really sustainable. They also do audits of your sustainability of your organisation. Donc, ils peuvent venir te voir pour parler au sujet de si votre organisation est durable ou aussi durable que ça pourrait être, ce qui est vraiment utile, puis c'est vraiment une valeur de l'FAO. Et ils auront bientôt des groupes de discussion qui commenceront pour discuter de la durabilité sur le campus. Donc, mon troisième service, c'est le bike co-op, le co-op au vélo. And the programming that they have includes mostly just fixing bikes, but they also do workshops. So they have technical workshops coming up soon. If you want to learn about brakes and like drivetrains and winter biking, then you should go to the bike co-op. It's at Lee's campus. It's great. You can literally build an entire bike. So you can go to the workshops, but you can also just drop in and learn about bikes. Ils sont ouverts tout l'hiver. They're open all winter, and they can teach you about winter cycling, which, like, that's brave and great and green and it's great. Donc, mon quatrième service, c'est le service de raccompagnement. My fourth service is foot patrol. Et à ce moment, ils ont à peu près une soixantaine de bénévoles. Donc, ils sont toujours en train de recruter de nouveaux bénévoles, which is fantastic. And they have an event coming up soon, their annual event called Where's Waldo, where you take pictures of Waldo and enter a contest to win. And they also have meme contests, which is pretty cool. I love meme contests. And they give lots of walks to students, safe walks home. So they're physically located, like right over there. It's the service that looks a little bit like a fishbowl. Pretty hard to miss. And the fourth service is the peer help service, le service d'entraide in French. And they are in the terminus of the UCU. So they have lots of programming that really touches on everything our VP Equity was talking about in terms of mental health and peer support on campus. Par exemple, ils ont une ligne téléphonique, une ligne de soutien qui a commencé la semaine passée. We're very happy to launch the phone line. We also have a mentorship program for high school students, and it's a drop-in space for students to come talk about any difficulties that they are facing, particularly academic and mental health issues. And lastly, probably one of their really heavily used services is the tutoring database. So we keep a list of tutors who are not like mad expensive, not $60 calculus tutors, if you know what I'm saying, like $10 an hour, well, no, that's below the minimum wage, get my point, like $15, $20 an hour tutors, and then it's capped at 20. So it's a good way for students to get support in their particularly difficult classes without having to break the bank. So that's my 5 services. Voici mes 5 services.
Donc comme j'ai mentionné avant, le Centre des droits étudiants a créé une campagne pour expliquer aux étudiants le degré de traitement des facultés par rapport à leur cas. Comme vous pouvez le voir sur l'affiche derrière, la faculté d'éducation et la faculté de sciences font partie des meilleures facultés au niveau du traitement des étudiants par rapport à leur demande d'appel, et la faculté des sciences de la santé, sciences sociales, et la faculté de Telfer font partie des facultés qui reçoivent et acceptent et ont le moins de compréhension par rapport aux demandes d'appel et de changement de notes, changement de faculté, allégations de fraude placées sur les étudiants. Je pense qu'avant de conclure ma mise à jour, it's important to mention that at the moment also related to the UPass, we're having conversation to have a single card for all the service offered in the university. So we would have the UPass on your student ID, which would end your meal plan, which would remove the burden of having to deal with the card and restocking and taking the picture. All we will have to do now is take care of charging the pass and managing the program as a whole. Those are conversations we're having right now. We might move forward with this. We just need to make sure that it's beneficial for students the way it's presented. Thank you.
Okay.
Clubs. So usually clubs would all be under the VP Equities portfolio, except for one club, which is WUSC, the World University Service of Canada, which is the Student Refugee Program. The reason behind this is because it was passed by a referendum to sponsor students as refugees every year. So that's why usually the president takes care of referendums. So WUSC is a Canadian non-for-profit organization dedicated to improving education, employment, and empowerment opportunities for youth around the world. Every year, the SFUO sponsors a few students for different countries, which allows them the opportunity to get education and build a better future. The SFUO works closely with the U Ottawa WUSC chapter to ensure that the sponsored students receive the money allocated for them and support with any other demand. That is basically in collaboration with our accounting department that makes sure that they get their checks every month, including housing, transportation, cell phone, laptop, tuition, etc. So we have 6 student refugees this year, and the program only allows them to be sponsored by the SFUO for 2 years. And after this, they have to figure it out.
So clubs. So clubs are the biggest part of my mandate. Unfortunately, my title is VP Equity. Well, not unfortunately, but like my title is VP Equity, but most of my time is dedicated to clubs. And I think this year, most of it was learning what the club system was, and then trying to restructure it. So the first problem was that hadn't been passed down with a lot of the information for clubs. So one of the things that I'd run on, so I wanted to make sure that I did, was the club's online website. Unfortunately, I'm not a web developer, and there were a lot of things and issues that came up, and so we've been trying to kind of keep up with them. But that was one of the big things, was creating the club's portal, and then finding ways to bring back the club subsidies, which, we've received some requests for club subsidies, but not many. Some things that we had added were bilingual constitution, which was one thing that had a bit of pushback. We had added it because essentially clubs are clubs of the federation. The federation must be bilingual and represent. There were specific situations where we exempted it, but essentially we were asking for bilingual constitutions, budgets, and then the usual signing the 25 signatures. So right now we have over 200 clubs registered, and quite a few in the bank that we're still waiting for documents from. Winter registration will start November 20th, so on Monday, actually. So clubs will be able to start registering again, so we're hoping that will go better than the first time. I think that's essentially the big parts. Like, clubs are an important part to the student culture. They bring a lot. When we talk about like creating spaces for students, clubs do a lot of that work, and so they're an important part to campus community. Juste maintenant, une chose qu'on a fait, c'est ajouter le système en ligne pour les clubs. Alors, on a eu beaucoup de problèmes avec ça, mais on est en train de travailler pour essayer de s'ajuster. On a fait des changements comme demander pour une constitution bilingue, mais aussi pour des documents comme un budget et puis les signatures de 25 personnes. Juste maintenant, on a plus que 200 clubs approuvés, puis on en a quelqu'un dans notre système qu'on est en train d'attendre d'être capable d'approuver. Et puis, après l'enregistrement de l'hiver, commencera novembre. Comme si vous avez des personnes qui sont intéressées à commencer les clubs sont une très importante partie de la culture sur le campus et puis offrent beaucoup d'espace personnalisé aux étudiants de différents intérêts, expériences, identités et backgrounds. Alors, c'est tout.
So some of the biggest events that we had in the month of September basically is 101 Week, which is our biggest event of the year. Of course, like any other event that lasts a week, there are ups and downs always. But a few highlights of 101 Week is, first of all, we have French Montana. Second of all, we retained the position of the safety ambassadors. We had 10 safety ambassadors, and it was all added to the Constitution. A bunch of motions were actually approved by the Board of Administration before 101 Week to make sure that safety measures are taken. In this 101 Week, we've had, to be honest, this is one of the safest 101 Weeks in our history. We had the least amount of bracelets cut ever, and the least amount of ambulances called due to our support of your CERT team and the safety ambassadors and everyone who supported. So thanks to everyone who made sure that this was amazing, and I really want to give a shout out to all the VP Socials, VP Philanthropics, and presidents of Fed Bodies, and VP Finances for counting, Shanorama. Another event that we had also during the month of September was the ELE Festival in its fourth or fifth version. It was a 3-day festival. Turnout was about 1,000 people. The numbers for 101 Week and ELE Festival, the budget will be presented in the budget by our VP Finance. Next, foire de la justice sociale, c'est Axel.
Oui, cette année, on a organisé une foire de la justice sociale avec plus de 20 organisations qui ont participé. C'est un endroit où les différentes organisations et les différents partenaires de la SFUO ont l'occasion de rencontrer les étudiants, spécialement les étudiants de première année qui arrivent sur le campus, de recruter de nouveaux bénévoles et puis de promouvoir de façon amusante et interactive le travail qu'ils font. We had a good turnout. I think a little more than 100 students came. There was food, activity, entertainment. Everybody had a fun time. There was music, and looking forward to see how it's going to be next year.
Assemblée mensuelle. So just to keep folks in the loop, there was an initiative by the SFUO to host monthly town halls for students, where it's a little bit bigger than a board meeting and a little bit smaller than a general assembly. It's a forum for students and non-students to come in, express opinions, ask questions. The first town hall took place on October 18th, which was Wednesday between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. at the UC Agora. The second town hall will be tomorrow, actually, at the RJN campus. We wanted to allow the opportunity for med and nursing students to also come in and ask questions and participate. So it'll be between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. tomorrow morning at the RJN Atrium. And then the next one will be on December 6th between 5 and 7 p.m. and a location will be announced. There was also consultations with the indigenous community on our campus for the introduction of a mural in the UCU to highlight on indigenous rights, which is a step forward to decolonizing and indigenizing the campus we're on. A couple of years ago, the SFUO was able to lobby for a mural to highlight on Black and trans and queer rights. So it's the same thing, and it's the least thing that we could do. The negotiations have been went very well with the UCMB, which is the University Center Management Board. At the end of this week, we're going to be having a meeting with all the stakeholders in the process, including the indigenous community, to be able to figure out a date when we can have that mural ready. Another thing too is reflecting over a few things that happened during different events that included police presence. The SFUO has been having different meetings with protection services to talk about issues of safety for students. So we've established protocols when SFUO is involved and protection services and police are there, that when SFUO is there, SFUO is the main party that deals with the situation, and it's the very, very last resort that we call the police or reach out to protection, because at the end of the day, even if a student could be at fault, we still want to make sure that they're safe and they're not embarrassed in front of other students when they're pulled during an event or something. The other thing too is to highlight on the opioid crisis awareness campaign that the SFUO has launched. There were a lot of negotiations over the summer with different parties for the administration of naloxone kits during 101 Week, which due to the time and the time restraint and the advice from our lawyers and brokers, we weren't able to do it. But we went in with an awareness program during our guide trainings that about 1,500 guides were able to receive training on it, same as all the VP Socials presidents and VP Philanthropics, 101 Committee, UOCERT, and the safety ambassadors. Negotiations have continued, and we have finally gotten the green light to use nasal sprays for our UOCERT team, but we still have to figure out all the liability issues with our brokers, but we'll keep students updated about this. Oh my goodness, it's only... the last thing too is, for me I think, is the SFUO has been able to secure a South End campus in the site building, which is a little booth. There has been just a bit, some concerns within the faculty of engineering. They're giving us a bit of a hard time about the usage of the space and splitting hours within the SFU and the faculty. So next week we'll be having a meeting to finalize this conversation and be ready to open our South End campus to make it more accessible for students. Work Wednesdays?
Just really quickly, Woke Wednesdays, I think a lot of the time when, there was this huge, large presence of the word woke for a really long time, and a lot of people were like, it seemed like this, not to, for lack of a better word, cult-like thing where, a lot of people didn't understand how to get in, and a lot of people, the process was difficult. So essentially, Woke Wednesdays are meant to have, interactive conversations. There'll be events instead of conversations, because I think a lot of the time talking at people is not the best way to have conversations of this type. So they can be trivia nights or paint nights. Some of them will be open mic nights. They'll be just whatever students are asking for at the time. So the first one will be a trivia board game night. And essentially it gives also a chance for a student to win prizes, but yeah, it's different ways to have conversations on different issues that can be brought up. Also, during the time will be able to be brought up by students, so students will be able to be hey, I want to learn about this, so we'll talk about that for that week. But yeah, they're just interactive ways to have conversations about equity issues, or just generally things that we're talking about in society right now, to be able to better understand them in a more interactive and less at you way. Yeah. And it'll be happening on Wednesdays, if the time will indicate.
Thank you, Leila. So we're going to move on to our last part of this report, which is the social media update. Catherine is going to give a quick update, and we're going to move on to the budget update by our VP Finance.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm going to talk about social media and a little bit of other parts of digital comms. So we've been doing a lot better in social media engagement with lots of new Facebook likes and followers on Twitter. We also had an Instagram account that was dormant for a while, but now it's great. You should follow it. Lots of stories, lots of information about student events, that kind of stuff. And I have done something that the SFU hadn't done in the past, but is really important, which was that I made sure that our accounts shared information from our other accounts. So that was one power of our social that wasn't being fully harnessed. So now I make sure that the Pride Center shares all the Women's Resource Center events, and vice versa, and Food Bank sharing the Sustainability Center events, and vice versa. And since we have a dozen service centers, 4 businesses, and a bunch of main SFU accounts, flip that over Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That's a lot of accounts, so it's really important to get that kind of engagement. Additionally, we have remade the entire website, which hadn't been updated in a while, and have extensively worked on mobile optimization. If there's ever an issue with the website, you can just literally let me know, and we'll fix it. It's always a thing to make better and more comprehensively hold the resources for students. But honestly, it's something I've worked a ton on in the past 7 months and would continue to do so. We also launched a blog on the main page of the website, and the new website is reflective of the fact that we launched 20 new logos. So for the service centers, the new logo for the SFUO, etc., by a student vote last year. So we have new branding for the entire federation, which is really, really good because our old logo was really, really old and barely anyone knew what it meant. And then I also worked on communications for the by-election, and the turnout was better than a lot of by-elections in the past. And I am fully staffed in the marketing department with lots of great team members. if you guys ever want to talk about digital strategy, you can just come grab me in my office. I'm there all the time, and I love to talk shop with people about how to get more students engaged on campus.
Okay, thanks, Executive, for this update. We're going to move on to our budget update avec notre bébé aux finances risquées. Nous allons commencer. Veux-tu que je switch la présentation?
Bonjour à tous, mon nom c'est Rizky Rachik, je suis vice-président en finance de la fédération. Hi, my name is Rizky Rachik and I'm the current VP Finance of the SFUO. So today I have a budget presentation focused on the expenses, which is something that is the most important. So there's a revenue slide at the end, which is a summary, but it's not in detail. So the revenue of the SFUO is the student levy, donc c'est des cotisations étudiantes qui ont été passés par des référendums et qui ont un objectif très restrictif concernant leurs dépenses. C'est-à-dire, si on a passé un référendum for the health plan, that means that it has to be used for the health plan. So I'm going to start with just explaining a couple things. So I have to go through this in case if there is first-year student here, just to explain how it works, comment ça fonctionne à la fédération étudiante. Donc on reçoit notre finance de l'argent à travers les étudiants through students, and we goes through the SFUO. And there is the services, which is the 12 services that have a specific amount that was voted in the past by referendum, and clubs as well. There is committed funds like 101 Week, the administration and faculty associations who receive their own levy as well. There is the levied bodies, the health plan as a program, and the UPass. So just to go, before getting into the explanation of the numbers, I just want to explain what's the definition of some lines. So we have the student levies, which is the fees collected from the undergrad student. The total operating represent the events, transportation, operating supplies, etc. Total occupancy, it's maintenance and repair premises. Total marketing and promotion, it's advertising, printing. Administrative, it's computer supplies, photocopies, rental equipment, internet, and miscellaneous. Total wages is subcontractor, and we do also have a pitch-in for the ombudsman and the work-study program. Total human resources is the employee training, employee appreciation, retreats, etc. And total services, there is the admin fee, the insurance, audit fee, translation if needed, audits, storage. And the last line is total subsidies, which is the general subsidies, partnership fund, etc. En français, c'est la même chose. Cotisation étudiante, c'est l'argent collecté par les étudiants du premier cycle. Il y a des coûts d'exploitation, événements, dépenses automobiles, transport, équipement opérationnel, des coûts d'occupation, entretien, réparation et maintenance, les coûts de marketing et promotion, publicité, impression, etc. Les coûts administratifs, équipement en informatique, conférences, photocopie, équipement de location, etc. En termes de salaire, c'est des sous-traitants, des contractuels, l'ombudsman, le programme travail-études. Pour les coûts des ressources humaines, c'est la formation des employés, l'appréciation des bénévoles, l'appréciation des employés, et le coût des services, assurance, frais administratifs, frais de vérification, entreposage, etc. Et le coût des subventions, les subventions générales, les fonds de partenariat alloués à certains groupes. So, je vais commencer la présentation avec les deux programmes de la fédération étudiante. I'll start with the two programs of the SFUO, which is the health plan and the UPass. So the way it's presented, I don't know if you can see. By the way, this presentation will be posted right after that GA on the SFUO website. So the health plan, the total expenses, just gonna, I can't see. Sorry. So for the help plan, the way it works, we receive the money from students through their tuition fees. So it is clear in your billing, in your financial statement that there is a line that says dental and health plan. So we receive an amount and then we give back to Green Shield Canada environ 4 141 625. C'est ce qui a été budgété. So the blue line represents what is budgeted. And then the red orange line, it represents what we have as per September 30th. So these numbers end as per September 30th. So they are just the actuals from May to September. So as far as now, we give out to Green Shield 1,326,576. There is a total operating of $300 budgeted. We used $154. It's just if we have to print more pamphlet or more papers for the health plan. Total occupancy, there is 0. Marketing and promotion, $500 budgeted, there is 37. $500 for total administrative, and the wages represent the staff that works under the health plan. So we have a coordinator of the health plan. And total services is a fee of the admin fee, insurance, audit fees that is allocated to that specific budget. So the budget for the health plan is $4,353,800, which represents the budget for the year for the health plan that we need to give out to Green Shield and how much it's going to cost for the health plan. As per today, the actual shows $1,400,000. Pour le UPAS, c'est la même chose. C'est un programme où est-ce qu'on reçoit l'argent à travers les étudiants et on remet aussi Transpo et STO. Donc jusqu'à aujourd'hui, ce qui est budgété, c'est 12 millions. Sur la UPAS, ça a été négocié dans le passé pour qu'on puisse avoir des prix favorables. En ce moment, on est à 6 420 000 et ça va continuer avec la distribution en hiver et la distribution d'été éventuellement, ce qui a été pris en compte. En tant que coût opérationnel, there is 15,000 that is allocated for the operations. We reached 264, 6,500 for the occupancy, total marketing and promotion 4,500, and we have, as per today, 4,800, so we are over budget for the marketing and promotion aspect of the UPAS. Total administrative is 8,200, and we are at 8,223, if I'm seeing well. Same for the wages, we budgeted for the year 121,000, and we are at 74 because there's still distribution happening in winter and next summer. And total services, it's a fixed cost to cover the admin fee and the audit fees, insurance as well. So the total budget for the UPAS is around 12 million, and we reach half of it, which is 6 million. So that was the two programs of the SFUO. Now we'll go over the funds of the SFUO, les budgets qui ont un aspect particulier de subvention. So we have an accessibility fund. So le fonds d'accessibilité, vous pouvez faire une demande à travers notre centre des étudiants ayant une incapacité. Il y a un formulaire. Il y a des terms of reference vraiment spécifiques pour ce fonds et il y a un comité qui juge et qui alloue l'argent pour ce fonds. So the accessibility fund, there is total operating. It represents the subsidies. It was put in the operation on. So there's 20,000. As per today, there is no subsidy that was given. There is no occupancy cost. Marketing et promotion, il y a juste $100, il n'y a rien qui a été utilisé. Total administratif, il n'y a absolument rien. Les salaires non plus, comme vous pouvez le voir. And total services has an amount, which is insurance and audit fees as well. So budget is $20,600. As per today, we just reached $400. There is another fund in the SFUO called the Student Life Services Fund. So the way it works, According to bylaw 9 of our constitution, the Student Life Services General Fund, it is for services of the SFUO to apply for extra funding when they go over their budget. The only expense that we have in that budget that is qui est assez remarquable is just the wages, because we do have staff that work exclusively with services. So we allocate their salary to that specific budget. So there is a budget of 37,000, sorry, as for the year, and the chiffre réel à 8,000 as per today. So the next budget represent more the student experience, so l'expérience étudiant. So the first budget, it's 101 week. So 101 week had a budget for all the activities, everything included, of 2,300,000, sorry. Et les chiffres réels sont à 226 440. Donc on a, encore une fois, si vous avez des questions sur le budget il a été approuvé par le conseil d'administration. And in that case, we did respect the budget. Well, we are under the budget, which is really cool. We did have an extra expense for total campus life, which is $195,715. So we went above of $700. That represents all the activities. Total campus life, ça regroupe Fedstock, notamment si vous avez des questions pour les artistes. It represents every cost that was linked to that. For example, the stage, the fencing, the washrooms. I can go as much in details, but I don't have the details with me now. But it represents as well the closing ceremony, anything linked to events during 101 week that was hosted by the SFUO. And we do receive also a revenue in 101 week expense from the kit sales from our Fed bodies, and it is around a revenue around 100K. And there is a contribution from the SFUO admin towards 101 week. So there is a cost for total operations, which is represent different things, renting barbecues or buying food that is linked to 101 week budget. We have $300 for marketing and promotion. We allocated $1,000, but we did go over under budget. Total administrative $7,500. We reached $2,000 here. Total wages, there is $12,000. Just to explain that part of the wages, so there is some staff in the SFUO that during a certain period they just focus on 101 week and organizing 101 week. So we reallocate the portion of their wage to that budget. Donc juste pour expliquer en français, durant la semaine 101, il y a des staffs qui sont concentrés juste sur la semaine 101, du coup, il y a une portion de leur salaire qui est allouée à ce budget. Total human resources represent safety ambassador and all the guys' appreciation. And total services, $12,000 was budgeted, but we only have $400 as an expense. The next budget is events, and to be honest, since those numbers are until September 30th, 2017, it most likely represents ELE Fest and also any payment that was made for a portion of it of Detox. So the way it works is total operating, we had a budget, we went over budget on this one. It is a budget that was approved of $135,000, and we did go over budget of $220,000, pardon. So total operating were $1,000, there was $300 spent, and total campus life represent also the majority of it ELE. There was $100,000 plan approved, and we went over budget to 212,276 sous. And again, ELE Festival was a 3-day festival. A lot of miscommunication happened and the city got involved. So we had a lot of charges that we couldn't say no. Like for example, we were charged paramedics where they were not really needed. We had UOCERT in place. We were charged with 6 police officers, which is really expensive. I'll give you a couple examples, but definitely open to answer any question related to ELE. Total marketing and promotion, 500, there was none. In terms of total administrative, there is $3,300. We went at $3,049. Total wages, we were expecting to hire promoters to have a bigger turnout, but we did not. Total human resources, there's nothing, and a small fee for total services. Again, that was most likely the event side as per jusqu'au 30 septembre 2017. Il y a d'autres événements au cours de l'année qu'on aimerait planifier, mais éventuellement afin de générer des revenus pour récupérer des sous, parce qu'on ne s'attendait pas à des pertes aussi colossales. Donc je voulais juste mentionner les alternatives qu'on prend pour récupérer les sous éventuellement. Philanthropic, so we have a budget for that. However, that's more linked to Shinorama, but Shinorama was also charged to 101 weeks, so they get split, and as well as Relay for Life, for example. So there is 1,100 allocated for the budget of the year. There's just $42 spent. There's 400 for total administrative. There's just 100 spent. Total services $500, and there's 436 as per now. So a budget of 2,000, and the actuals are 581. Campaigns has a budget for the year of 45K. As per today, they reach 14K, so they have 2,050 for total operating. They have 4,500 for campaigns. They only used $100. Marketing and promotion, there's $1,000, nothing used yet. Total administrative, $650. We have a campaigns department with a couple staff that represent the wages line. Total human resources, none, and total services at 500, they reach $811. Clubs. So the budget for clubs this year, it came back, and we do have subsidies for clubs. So the last line that you see, $100 000 représente le montant qu'on a alloué pour les subventions. Donc le comité des clubs va à travers les remboursements, et les clubs qui ont été approuvés reçoivent un remboursement dès que c'est approuvé. So there's not much happening in that budget except for subsidies. There is total operating of $1,000, occupancy for $500 because we do have a separate club's office. Total administrative reached 4,000 as per today, and that's pretty much it. So there is a budget of 120 000 pour les clubs. Jusqu'à présent, nous sommes à 9 000 $. Donc les remboursements sont en cours. Il ne faut pas oublier que ce budget, ces chiffres réels s'arrêtent au 30 septembre 2017. Donc that doesn't include any refund that was made during October or November. Elections, so that will be really quick. So there was just a by-election. This will be more interesting in the fall GA because there was not a lot of expense. So the budget for the GA, for the election is c'est $105 000. As per today, they only spent 1,500, so we had a smooth by-election. There was not a lot of expenses, so I will just pass that for the moment. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Board of Administration has most likely the wages line is the only thing. We do have staff that works for the Board of Administration, and total human resources represent the Board of Administration appreciation. When we have long meetings, 8 hours, we do provide pizza or trainings as well. So it includes the training that board member receives at the beginning of their mandate. Administration, so I'm going to explain why there are numbers that go in the negative. So we have total operating of 95,000 that represents also GA are included in that. Any events that is not linked to any other budget will go under total operating of the administration. For example, if there is a gala, well, there will be a gala, Black History Month gala, that will be falling under the administration. Total occupancy, 15,000, that represent the main SFUO office. Total marketing and promotion, 4,200. Total administrative, there is 113 608, so this one went above budget. So that covers every staff coverage of benefits as well, and conferences, anything that is photocopies, printing, like I said, rental equipment for the admin. Total wages, 931,243, as per today, 347,044. Again, for employee privacy, I can't go in details who gets paid how much. I know that's a question that I often get. That includes the salary of the executive. This is public information. We make 36K. And that also include a lot of staff in the main office, as well as receptionists, some part-time in the office, and the benefits as well. Total human resources, 68,000. Represents also all the trainings that are provided for the execs. For example, myself, I'm the head of HR, and I get a lot of HR training to make sure that I'm following the Employment Standard Act for managing staff. And the last line, so I'm just going to explain that line. Why is it negative? So just to remind folks, it's an expenses budget. So it's being in negative means it's a revenue for that budget. What does that mean? It's because that number that you see, which is 328,539, that is budgeted for the year, and we reach 196,342. This is the amount that we reallocated to other budgets. So the SFUO, the way it's made, there is plenty of budgets, and the admin has also their own levy. But we do, for example, we have an accounting department that do payroll for all the staff. They are charged to admin, but they also charge to all other budgets because they do payroll for everyone. The IT department does IT for everyone, so we do take their salary and then we split it among all the other budgets. So when you see total services in other budget it includes admin fee. When I said insurance, audit fee, and admin fee is also la répartition des salaires of staff that works among all the budgets, right? So we have a budget of 354,000, and we are at $300,000 as per September 30th. Same for marketing, you will see the negative line, which is a revenue for that budget, but we're charging the other budget because marketing department works with every service, with every department. So we have staff like graphic designer, translation, as well as a director of communication, and they do work with other budgets, other services and department. So for the marketing total expenses, it's not that accurate because the agenda were not, as per September 30th, the agenda are not paid yet in that budget. So we have a total marketing and promotion of 31,000 that represent the cost of the agenda, and the wages is all the staff under the marketing department, webmaster, graphic designers, translation as well. Human resources of $1,000, and total services, it's supposed to reach 200,000, which represent the allocation of the marketing department work. So we have a budget. At the end of the year, we're supposed to get a profit, kind of 44,000, which represent what comes back to the marketing department. Now we'll go over the services of the SFUO. So there's 12 of them. There's 12 different budgets. So the food bank was budgeted of 70K. They reached 13K as per today. So 6,000 for almost 7,000 for total operating, 2,300 for occupancy. They have a staffing plan according to the HR department. So the total wages is for the year, and we also have a human resources line to make sure that we have a retention of volunteers in the service. CSD, the Center for Students with Disabilities, they also have a budget of 59,000. They reach 11K as per today. Total operating of 5,500. They have a wages line that is according to the staffing plan, and a total services of 10,000 that represents again the admin fee, the insurance, the audit fee, storage, and everything linked to that. The Pride Center, they have a total operating of 7,000. They reach 1,300. Ils ont un budget total de 63 509 et aujourd'hui ils sont à 15 000 dollars. Aujourd'hui, je veux dire le 30 septembre 2017. And total wages of 39,000. They reach 9,000 as per today. And again, that includes the transition when someone resigns or someone graduated, then we also need to find someone. So maybe you won't see the exact number matching the wages, and this is normal. We just plan the wages for the year, assuming that we have a fully staffed plan. And total services of 10K for the year, we reached $4,200. Centre de bilinguisme, le total, les coûts d'opération sont de 15 700, on est à 83 $. Le centre de bilinguisme, il a un gala durant le mois de la francophonie, donc les dépenses du centre arrivent surtout durant le mois de mars. Le coût de total occupancy are $800, $370 as per September, $3,000 for marketing and promotion, and they're just at $37. Total administrative $1,000, only $100 as per today, and $30K for wages, $900 for human resources, and $10,000 for services, which is 61 for the year. We are at 15K until now. Women Resource Center, la même chose, 5 300 pour les coûts d'opération, total occupancy $700. Le coût pour les marketing et promotion, 3 000, on est à $260. 2438 pour le total administrative, and we reach 1100. Total wages, 36K according to the staffing plan, and human resources $1,000 and $10,272 for total services. The budget is 59K and we are at 19K as per September. Same for SRC. They are different from other services because they are not part-time. There are 4 full-time staff there. So a total operating of 9,000. They most likely deal with legal fees when they do have to advocate for students at different level. 1,200 for total occupancy, 3,000 for marketing and promotion, 5,700 for administrative. We are at 1,900. Total wages is more high than the others because they are full time and they are professional working in that center. 2,000 for human resources that represent trainings and appreciation, and 2,300 for the total services. And the budget for that service is 300,000, and we are at 100K. Peer Help, ils ont des coûts d'opération de 3 950, 500 pour occupancy, ils sont à 330. Marketing et promotion 1000, on est à 260 actuellement. 1350 pour les coûts administratifs pour l'année, 390 pour septembre. 49 000 en termes de salaire, 2300 pour les ressources humaines, ce qui fait un total de 68 000 pour l'année, 13 000 jusqu'à aujourd'hui. SDC has a total operating of 4,000 and they did not use at all their budget yet. Marketing and promotion $37, total administrative $300. We have a wage line of 30K, and human resources and total service fee as usual. 48K for the budget for the year, 15K as per today. Bike co-op, different service, but they do have also revenue of selling bike parts. They have 15,600 for operating. They do also buy parts for bikes, and they do sell them as well. 9,000 as per today. And their high season is the summer, obviously. 2,000 marketing and promotion, 150 jusqu'à aujourd'hui. En ce qui concerne l'administrative, on est à $1,000, 35 000 pour le salaire. La même chose, 2,600 pour les ressources humaines, 11 000 pour les services. Ils ont un budget de 68 000 pour l'année and 34,000 as per day. iHouse has 34,000 for the total operating, and that represents they have the international gala that happens in the winter semester, so there is nothing for the moment. Total occupancy 550 for the year, 1,500 for marketing and promotion. They also have the international week that is also happening during winter. Total wages according to the staffing plan, 900 for human resources and 11K for total services. They have a budget of 89,000 and 13K of spending as per today. Food Patrol, so Food Patrol has 4,400 of total operating. They provide walk around campus. Ils ont 1683 de dépenses, 8,000 for marketing and promotion. They reach 4,000 as per today, 2,300 for merit admin, and they are at 400. 49,000 pour les salaires, aujourd'hui sont à 14,000. And again, the same structure as the other budget. We are at 78,000 for the year, 25K spent as per today. Zoom Production, qui est un département qui travaille avec le marketing, $6 000 pour les coûts d'opération. Il y a beaucoup d'achats de matériel, des caméras, etc. lorsqu'il y a des besoins. $900 occupancy, marketing and promotion, 1,400, 5,400 for admin for the year, 54K for wages. They do have also full-time staff, 1,100 for human resources, and total services as everyone else. 85K for the budget for the year, 22K spent as per today. UCERT, so UCERT has a couple expenses. They also have trainings that cost a lot, first aid training, and they do need specific equipment. So there is 6,000 for operating for the year. They reach 4,700, but it's also reflecting what the referendum was. They always go above budget, so they needed more money. 400 for occupancy. Total marketing, they went above. 4,050 for the total administrative for the year. They get a total human resources line of 10K because the first aid training and other CPR, other trainings are getting really expensive, and they do have 50 plus volunteers and they provide training for them. So they have a budget of 21,000, which is only the fall levy. They don't have a winter levy, but with the referendum that just passed, they will get a winter levy. And they are at 9,000 for the moment. And that was the last service. Now, just providing a total revenue for the SFUO, all budgeted combined together. So you have a student levy of 2,974,858 pour l'année. On est à 474,000. Why we do not have the entire amount of the money? Because we do not receive the money as long as the student don't pay their tuition fee. So the university, if you don't pay the tuition fee and you're an international student and you owe 20K to the university, we're still gonna wait until you pay to get the SFUO portion. Same for grad levy, 144K. They do pitch in for some services. I don't have them in front of me. And we have 95K as per today. We do have a revenue interest from the bank of 25K per year, and we reach 6K as per today. Revenue you pass is 12 million that we receive from students. We gave for the just one distribution 6 million, which is the biggest distribution. It's the fall one, and then we'll give to OC Transpo and the STO the remaining of the money. Revenue you pass replacement. So each time they lose their you pass, you're charged 25, which is the cost of the card and the admin fee. 65K of revenue for the year. We reach 10K. For the revenue insurance, we have a revenue of 4 million. We are at 88K. 23,000, it's a sponsorship. I don't have the exact name of which sponsor, but I can provide that if this is requested. SFUO contribution of 5,000. So it's not clear, but SFUO contribution means that that 5,000 is for the BOA. It just pop up in the total revenue. And 279 for other, which is club registration and agenda included. We have a budget of 20 million, expecting 20 million this year, and as per September 30th, we reached 7 million. And again, this is all budget combined. That includes the helpline, the UPass, which is the biggest part. In terms of expenses, Total remitted means the amount that we give to the two programs that we have, which is the health plan Green Shield and the aussi Transport and STO. So 7,643,000 as per today. We are supposed to give out, from the 20 million basically revenue, we are giving out 16 million, 16,471,625. So the SFUO services and the rest of budget deals with 3 million something. Total operating 291 000 pour l'année, où on est à 58 000. Total campus life 296. I don't know what it is, 47, yeah, 47, we are right, there is a budget, above budget, 4,500 for campaigns, $100 now, 32,900 total occupancy, it's a fixed cost, and 74K for marketing and promotion, we're at 13K, total administrative, 153 000, on est à 148 000, which is really close as per September, 2 million in terms of wages, and we're at 733 000. And total human resources, 107 000. On est à 13 863. So this is total subsidies and the total services, sorry, and then the last one, total subsidies, which is 460 000. As per today, we have 8 million spent, and we are planning to spend 19,800,000. So that's it for me. Sorry if it was boring. I had to go through all of this, and I'm open to question. To a certain extent, that means that there is some document that I need. I don't memorize numbers. I also deal with an accountant software, which is Sage. So if you need specific details on a specific event or budget, I'm happy to go tonight or tomorrow if you want at my office. He's right there and go over the spending. Thank you.
Merci à l'exécutif. Thank you to the executive for this presentation. On va maintenant débuter la période de questions. Donc, je vais juste faire quelques rappels concernant la période de questions. Donc, selon la Constitution, la période de questions a une durée de 20 minutes. Par contre, si vous souhaitez rallonger la période de questions après le 20 minutes, vous pouvez présenter une résolution et avec une simple majorité, on peut rallonger la période de questions. Je voulais aussi mentionner un autre petit détail aussi. C'est une pratique au conseil d'administration. Il n'y a pas de règlement précis là-dessus dans la Constitution concernant les assemblées générales, mais je pense que c'est quand même une bonne pratique. On observe la parité des genres. Donc, la parité des genres, ce que ça veut dire, c'est que je demanderai aux gens de s'organiser au microphone et de s'assurer qu'on alterne entre les personnes qui posent des questions. Donc, la parité des genres en concept, le concept, ce que ça veut vraiment, c'est qu'on s'organise entre hommes et femmes. Par contre, je tiens aussi à reconnaître que c'est un système qui a des lacunes très importantes. Donc, ça force une identification dans le binaire, donc seulement hommes et femmes. Donc, je veux aussi prendre le temps pour prendre note du fait qu'il y a peut-être des personnes qui ne s'identifient pas dans ces deux genres-là, donc aussi s'assurer que ces gens-là ont l'occasion de s'auto-organiser dans la ligne et de poser leurs questions. Moi, ici, à l'avant de la salle, ça ne m'intéresse pas de devoir deviner ou faire des déductions concernant l'identité des genres des gens, donc je vous laisse à vous la responsabilité de vous organiser avant de poser vos questions. So a few things that I'd like to remind for question period. As I mentioned previously, as outlined in the Constitution, it's currently set for 20 minutes. However, if after that 20 minutes you wish to extend the question period through a simple majority vote and a motion of the Assembly, we can do this. I also wanted to highlight the fact that at the board this is a practice, and I think it's a positive practice that we might want to adopt here at the General Assembly, but for speakers, we observe gender parity. Now, I want to flag that gender parity is definitely an imperfect system. There are folks in this room who might not identify on this binary, and so I want folks to also be mindful of this and make sure that we're being trans-inclusive as well when we're organizing ourselves at the microphone. I'm not interested in making assumptions on folks' gender identities, and so I ask that you folks take on the responsibility of self-organizing at the microphone and observing this gender parity with a bit more of a inclusive spin by not forcing this binary at the microphones. I also want to remind folks to remain respectful with your questions. This is a question period. If you have comments, keep them for yourselves, or perhaps you can send an email to the specific members of the executive or to the general SFUO account through their website. This is very specifically a question period, and so that is what we're going to be entertaining here at this time. Donc, je te laisse simplement rappeler que c'est une période de questions, c'est pas une période de commentaires. Si vous avez des commentaires ou des suggestions, je vous invite à communiquer par courriel avec les membres de l'exécutif directement ou encore à travers le site général de la FUO. Votre question sera redirigée à la personne appropriée, mais c'est vraiment une période de questions qu'on a en ce moment. Donc, on peut commencer. Je vais alterner entre les microphones. Ici au microphone, à droite.
So my question is in regards to the government's review. What changes have been made to the executive positions in regards to this review?
Thank you for the question. There was a motion proposed at the last board meeting of November 5th for an entire governance review of the SFUO position. So if you're asking about specificities, it was a big motion, to be honest, of 14 pages, but it was basically a reflection over the executive positions based upon some of the executives' experiences over the past few years. We have a problem in our constitution that, for example, the president's job description is outlined only in 10 lines in the constitution, which leaves a lot of room for interpretation. There are different portions of every executive's portfolio that are spread across the constitution. Not everything is in one spot. So the goal was to, when students want to run for a certain position, to give them a clear idea of what each position requirements are, for them to see if they're eligible or fit, self-assess themselves if they can do it. The other thing too is it meant, because executives are the face of the organization, and often with, since 1926 our federation has existed. We were incorporated in 1969, so ever since then we've never had a governance review. So after, 30, 40 years of no governance review, you have right now a structural issue, like one executive one person doing the job of six people doing the job of one person, which creates a lot of hassle that execs has to stay really late in the office to do a lot of the paperwork, emails, etc. Plus they have to be face-to-face communicating with students. It makes our jobs difficult. So the whole point was to address all these issues, split the executive positions, rename some of them based upon the tasks that they would be having, which would make sense, and create a job description so that people could read it. The other point is when we come to talk about issues like HR or budgeting, we're a multi-million-dollar organization of $20 million approximately, our operating budget. We have staff members that have to be permanent, like a business director, or they require certain qualities or qualifications. So it doesn't make sense sometimes to have a 19-year-old student conduct these interviews and decide on which is the best accountant director to lead the SFUO's accounting department, or all these things. So the point was to put these tasks within the departments that are most qualified to do so. So for example, the budget from now on would be organized or created by the accounting department of the SFUO in collaboration with the executive. Same as hiring and all HR matters would be within the HR department, which are qualified full-time staff. And one last point is, when you have staff members that are permanent and require institutional memory, it doesn't make sense to have an executive, because we run for 1 year. Some people choose to run for more, but change supervisors every year, which creates an undynamic environment of the SFUO. So the point was to have those staff supervised by permanent staff of the SFUO as well. I'm not sure if that answers your question or you have a follow-up.
It did, thank you.
Thank you.
Just in the interest of time as well, and to ensure everybody can have an opportunity to ask their questions, we're not going to do follow-up questions. Back on left.
All right. So the SFUO has moved forward to present their new mandate, declaring their staunch support as a federation for specific political positions, including pro-Palestine, pro-choice, among others. Connected to this, they revoked club status and benefits from student-led clubs, namely the Jewish Students Hillel Pro-Israel Club and the Students for Life Pro-Life Club. This is an unconstitutional attack on freedom of expression on campus, and regardless of political position and whether or not you agree with another individual or group political positions, it is imperative that the University of Ottawa remain a school that champions freedom of expression. Your decision is hampering the diversity of thought on campus.
Questions coming?
Yes. Your decision is hampering the diversity of thought on campus and is not representative of the university's student population. Me and many other students.
Please get to the question.
Me and many other
This is not a
students.
time for
No,
comments.
this is my question right now. Me and many other students would like to know why the SFUO feel it's their job to ban open discussion on campus through deplatforming individuals and groups which go against your political opinions. Are they not creating an unsafe space for these people through refusing them to allow their voice to voice their thoughts without fear of retaliation?
So I'll answer that question. One, because I deal with clubs, and two, because I was the person who dealt with that motion the most. So, first, just to correct you, Hillel and the IAC are both clubs of the Federation. Yes, you are right, though, that the pro-life club was removed. At the end of the day, it was voted at the board, but I will repeat a lot of the things that I said at the board. The SFUO is a pro-choice organization because we do recognize that women, just people, because also we have to recognize that it doesn't just pertain to women or folks that identify as women, that deal with the very traumatic and difficult reality of having to have abortion. So the Federation, in the attempt of supporting all folks that have to go through that, are pro-choice, which means that at the end of the day, if you don't want to have an abortion, don't have an abortion. But if you have to have an abortion, then you have that right. And the SFUO will support all students in that. I think it's also important to note that the decertification came not only with that in mind, but after a lot of complaints that had come in from, I think, like even just a few minutes of the pro-life student club table being out. I think it's also very important to realize that when we're talking about these things, they are traumatic events that students have to live and should not have to be re-traumatized about on campus. And so yes, we are for freedom of expression and freedom of speech, but as long as it's not impeding other people's ability to properly exist and access this educational institution. Thank you.
Remind folks to keep your questions concise, please. We just want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to ask their questions. I understand that folks feel really passionate about these things. I was there once, I get it. But in the interest of time, let's keep them short and sweet as much as possible. Thank you. Microphone ici à droite.
Dans le fond, je vais commencer par noter l'importance que vous accordez à la prévention de la violence sexuelle, parce que c'est une chose très importante qu'on doit avoir un campus sécuritaire les gens de genre humain. Toutefois, à la dernière Assemblée générale, vous avez été mandaté d'effectuer une enquête et un rapport par rapport au Red Store, un événement qui abondait de violence sexuelle. Mais toutefois, la part a juste été enterrée. Donc, on voudrait savoir s'il y a eu un rapport, pourquoi celui-ci n'est pas accessible.
Alors, je n'étais pas là l'année dernière, mais une chose qui est importante à réaliser, c'est qu'il y a eu il y a eu une enquête qui s'est passée sur Vet Tours. Qu'est-ce qui est arrivé au conseil administratif n'était pas d'avoir une autre enquête, parce que ça, c'était pas quelque chose qu'on a eu la chance à inclure, c'est pas quelque chose qu'on avait voté sur, mais c'était de créer un comité qui parlerait à propos de la violence sexuelle. Encore au conseil administratif cette année, qu'est-ce qu'on aurait discuté? C'est le fait qu'avec l'adoption de notre tour ou our turn, vous allez probablement l'entendre précisément comme our turn, c'est qu'on allait prendre le fait que quand on adopte cette campagne, ça veut dire qu'on doit avoir un comité contre la violence sexuelle ou qui discute ces choses dans la fédération, et que vu qu'on avait déjà voté qu'il y ait ce comité qui existe à l'Assemblée générale de l'année précédente, que ça serait quelque chose où on les amènerait ensemble pour que quand ce comité serait créé, ça ramènerait les questions dont on avait parlé la première fois avec ceux de notre tour. Alors le comité, c'est la seule chose qu'on a voté sur, c'est ça qui va être créé, c'est ça qu'on sera en train de travailler sur, mais l'exécutif de l'année dernière a eu leur enquête, et puis les résultats de l'enquête, ça va avoir avec l'exécutif de l'année dernière. Merci.
Hi, so concerning the revoked status for the pro-life club and apparently the self-declaration of pro-choice standpoint from the SFUO, I would like to ask what the SFUO will do to represent women and persons of minority like me, being a Muslim woman, who beliefs are centered around pro-life standpoint, who do not feel represented by the decision process whilst attending the university in the democratic country of Canada, since I believe like all opinions should be presented fairly.
One important thing, once again, one second. I don't remember the exact wording, but I'll try to rephrase it. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was that the Federation would put no funding, space, consideration, or resources to groups or individuals that have the sole or primary purpose of pro-life activities. So I think that just generally, that is very clear. The SFUO will not participate in the silencing of people's experiences. But once again, like I said, pro-choice means if you don't want to have an abortion, don't have an abortion. But if people do need to have that happen, then they have that right. So I think it's very clear that the SFUO is taking the stance that no, it will not support pro-life activities because pro-life activities very often, and as we saw at that table when I and the executive coordinator went to shut it down, were to shame and silence experiences of people that do have to go through abortion. So at the end of the day, like I said, if you want to have an abortion, that's something that we support you with. If you don't want to have an abortion or you don't believe in abortions, that's something that you also have the right to make a decision on. But at the end of the day, we will not participate in the silencing of anybody. Thank you.
Bonsoir. Je suis étudiante à l'université et je suis également pro-vie. Puisque le club a été désinscrit, je me demandais, je me sens pas bienvenue comme femme qui a des valeurs en minorité. Et je me demandais si je serais bienvenue au centre des ressources des femmes et si je pourrais parler de ma position, puisque c'est un centre inclusif et non jugemental.
Alors, pour répondre à votre question, oui, vous serez invité au Centre de ressources des femmes pour parler à propos de peut-être les raisons pourquoi est-ce que vous, pour vous-même, faites la décision de ne pas croire en l'avortement, mais le Centre de ressources des femmes est un centre qui doit représenter tous les étudiants sur ce campus et toute leur expérience et puis réalités séparées. Alors ça, c'est quelque chose que vous pouvez parler à propos de pour vous-même, mais le centre doit continuer à fonctionner pour représenter tous les étudiants. Alors on ne peut pas supporter des activités qui seraient en train d'aller contre l'expérience des autres. Mais oui, bien sûr, vous êtes invité au centre pour parler à propos de votre propre expérience, c'est sûr. Merci.
Question microphone à gauche.
I was there at the tabling event when you told us we had to I was present at the tabling event when you told us that we had to leave. At that time, I asked you for a written policy on why we had to leave. You produced no such policy. We kept on saying that in order for us to leave, we would like to see a written reason of why you are allowed to do this. Because as students, we have a right to speak our voice, and at that time, we were a club. After that, you produced a policy saying that the SFUO was pro-choice. And you took away our club status. But at that point in time, you had not done either of those things. How do you justify the fact that you just leave that event?
So I will definitely address and be accountable to the fact that I did believe that the SFUO, because it has taken the pro-choice stance in the past, had that in the Constitution. So no, unfortunately, when I did do the research afterwards, realized that it wasn't in the policies, and that's why I actively make sure that it was part of them. But also to be very clear, as I mentioned at the board, as I mentioned also to correspondence about this issue, the number one reason why I was sent outside was because I was taken out from a meeting, from phone calls, emails, messages of students complaining and other clubs around you making the complaint of severe discomfort and in some instances, traumatizing situations of your club not only having very disturbing imagery on your table, but also the parts of a baby doll. So outside of the policy, I think that I should have been clear that the reason, instead of talking about the policy, I should have been clear that the reason that I had been sent out there was because I had received more complaints in the few minutes that I was in a meeting, to the point that I was taken from the meeting to look at my phone and be able to answer those concerns, and that's what brought me out there. So I do apologize for making reference to a policy that didn't exist based off of my own ignorance, but I think that I should be clear that was the reason why I had to come out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. I'd just like to say no follow-up questions. Sorry, no comments. I also wanted to remind folks to keep the clapping to a minimum. It's also taking away time for questions. Microphone on the right.
Hi. Yes, I was wondering. There's been a recurring problem with promotion of the GA, especially this year. There seems to have been very little outreach outside of a few things on the internet. A lot of the promotion has been done by students and groups on campus, which is good in itself. We should be encouraging students to coordinate themselves in promoting the GA, but a lot of it falls on the SFUO, who has a lot more resources and should be able to, I don't know if there's been class talks, postering and stuff like that.
So thank you very much for that question. I really like students caring about the GAs and student engagement overall. So just give a quick recap on what we did for GA promotion. So we have a more advanced digital strategy than we have in previous years, including our Facebook event for the GA reaching about 25,000 Facebook reach. So that's way more than previous GAs. Blows it out of the park. I could show you the metrics. So that's something that we did by organic reach, posting in Facebook groups for the past month and a half, because the event was created quite a long time ago. And also we took out Facebook ads on the GA. Then another thing we've done is we were active on Instagram stories, Twitter. It's been on the website for over a month, and it was put into 3 email newsletters, and then I did about a half dozen class talks. We had a GA promotion conversation going on with that as well. So at the end of the day, if student groups or students as individuals want to get involved with GA promotions, you can always get in contact with me. Fantastic to have students engaged in that, and student promotion is always welcome. Thanks.
Microphone on the left.
So Ritzky, this is a question for you. So I looked in the Constitution. I saw in section 2.3 we pay membership fee, obviously, to the SFUO every semester. And then the subsequent section includes all the breakdown of our fees. And so I saw 2.3.3.11, we pay a $1 fee to clubs. But I noticed in the past few years that fee hasn't been reflected properly based off the total amount that students are putting towards clubs in the club funding. Especially last year where we had no funding at all, even though based off my estimates we should have had about $66,000 to $70,000 in funding. So I was just wondering why is the breakdown present if it's not necessarily going to be followed?
So just wanted to, can you repeat your question? So why are we not following the Constitution numbers that are given?
Yeah, so why is there a breakdown in the Constitution, but that isn't necessarily being reflected in the budget?
Okay, so it's my second mandate. When I came in, there was a financial crisis, so I had to follow my accounting department on the restrictive measure to take. So we did take the around 70K from the club's budget to cover other losses. For example, the health plan was a huge loss until we increased the premium. What you see in the Constitution is not updated. The most updated numbers, because yes, they were voted referendum, some of them 2004, some of them before, but they do increase with the inflation rate. So the most accurate numbers are on the University of Ottawa website that I can provide, and there's a clear breakdown of, as per today, fall 2018 or 2017, how much you are paying for each service. So there is a $93 that you pay to the SFUO. It's not all of it going to the SFUO. There is an amount that goes to, for example, the newspaper of the school, other services like service des carrières, and etc. So the breakdown that you've seen by Law 2, unfortunately, it's not updated. That needs to be updated. This year, there is no money taken from clubs, for example. But we do have a challenge here is, in the past, clubs' budget was also going up above what the money was. So the money was 70K, we went above to 250K, and the problem is there was no cap for clubs, so there is no limit. One person can have 20 clubs, and they can benefit from, they used to benefit 1,500 from subsidy if they can provide the documentation. So this year we put a cap on the number that we are allocating to clubs to make sure that at least we respect the referendum and the money that we're taking from students, which is $1 something or $2 now. I have to look at it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I just want to do a time check with folks. We are at about 1 minute, 10 seconds, so at some point in time in the near future, we will have to extend the speakers list if we're going to go through the rest of the folks that are in line.
If I may, could we extend the question period for another 20 minutes?
Okay, yes, we can do this by another 20 minutes. Sorry, folks. This quorum situation, we can't vote on this. However, the executive can make this happen for you folks. So, all right, microphone on the right.
Donc, juste pour vous donner l'opportunité de parler un peu à le vice-président des finances a mentionné qu'il y aura le gala pour l'histoire des Noirs, and I just wanted to know what exactly is the executive as a collective or just as individual portfolios planning to do for Black History Month. Thank you.
For Black History Month, I think like it's also important to recognize that like a lot of the job of the other execs is like supporting me, which is very, very helpful and like very appreciated, especially like when it comes to Black History Month and a lot of the backlash that comes from that. But during Black History Month, we're doing the gala as usual. We are doing the black market that we did 2 years ago, which essentially brings, don't worry, it's not an illegal market we're bringing together, but it's essentially, imagine the scandal on top of everything else. It's essentially a space where we bring Black-owned businesses from around Ottawa, and then students get to like buy from them, just kind of like support and promote. I'm sure we've all seen those funny videos about Black-owned businesses, so we're trying to give them some support. So that's one thing, and then we are also having, we're having so many things that I'm blanking. The potluck and game night, that will be one thing, because I think one thing that we talk a lot about is like community building, and that's a good way to bring the community together. There is also the exhibition day, where we will be putting like Black students in their different fields. I think it was it the school that just took in its first Black med student? So recognizing that like Black students on campus a lot of the time have trouble accessing different parts of the educational system. And then we're also doing, why am I blanking? Really, we've been working on this. Soulful expression is something that one of the clubs on campus does that we like to support with. We're also going to be doing a panel on like, it's a panel for folks that have gone through the educational students in different professions to come kind of talk to students on how they got there and ways that they can get through it. And yeah, there are open committee meetings, or essentially it's a committee meant to like bring students together to discuss like possible events that they would want to hold during the month.
Thank you, sounds exciting.
Microphone left.
Hi, my question is directed towards Risky. I want to thank you because I know your portfolio is a ton of work and it's a lot of work to get all of these expenses calculated. My question is geared towards the events section of the budget, which currently stands at $85,242 in losses, which is basically just including ELE. I'm assuming it doesn't include things like the latest rapper announcement, Niska, so I would assume that we'd probably be closer to six-figure losses by the end of the year. My question is, we don't have a VP social right now, so how can someone give, right, we don't have, we're missing an executive, correct? Okay. So even if someone is directed as our VP social, the job responsibilities are all over the place. What can you guys describe to me how events are being decided on and how spending is being decided on?
Thank you. Thank you for your question. You have a point. We don't have a VP social. Yeli Festival started last year. So just to give a little bit of context, Yeli Festival, it was a club in the past of the SFUO. It's a student initiative. It was with CLS before, which is Community Land Service, which is the University of Ottawa. And they did kind of give up on them. We don't have exactly the history of what happened, but they used to have it. It's also new, probably have 4 years. And they approached us last year. We did have an artist called Bass Jickers, and we did not make, we lost $1,000 only. It was a one-day event. This year we were approached with a bigger idea, and even though our VP Social resigned in July, this is something...
Sorry, when you say approached, who came to you?
Sorry?
Sorry, when you say approached, who came to you, presenting?
Well, it's a group of students
okay.
that goes to University of Ottawa, and they are part of the club ELE Festival. They approached us with the idea of having the same festival with on a bigger scale for students with 3 different days, 3 different type of music. So with the executive, we voted that it will be a good idea to bring that experience. The same way as QSA is bringing other artists, dubs, and bringing experience to their students. So we wanted to do it. We did not expect that loss. It was flagged to the city of Ottawa. The charges increased really fast, and that was not part of the budget. The fact that there's no VP Social, myself, and the president took over the events, and me more as providing help, because usually the VP Finance works closely with the VP Social on the events and the budget. This year it's also a challenge because I have my portfolio and have to deal with events. What are we doing to make sure that there is no more loss? For example, the NISCA announcement, it's not a strategy to lose money, it's really to make money. And in the way of, so the artists, for example, the way we're thinking, they're going to a specific place, which is Montreal, they're close by. We just, made, hey, can we pass by Ottawa, and then we can sell tickets to external and make sure to, lower that loss that we currently have. Again, it happened, we cannot change anything.
Sorry, when you say we asked,
sorry, we're not,
okay,
sorry, go back and forth. I'm sorry, please,
Okay.
no, that's,
Thank you.
I'm just going to follow up quick, echo a little bit of what Risky's saying. I want to clarify 2 things. From my experience as being VP Social 2 years, and this is my 3rd one, when you want to organize an event, if it's over 500 people, you have to apply through a license through the city called SEAT Committee, Special Events Assembly Assessment Committee or something, team. Some of the things they could propose last minute are inevitable. Like when they say you need to have 4 police officers and 26 protection or security guards at all times for 12 hours a day, 3 days. When you want to have an ambulance car or whatever, this is inevitable. We have to abide by it no matter what the cost is. Even so, we would have other options while we cancel the event or abide by the city. The other thing too is the budget that was presented was only up to September 30th. So there are still some outstanding partnerships or payments that we haven't received yet, and that is also the budget for events throughout the whole year, but you're only seeing this semester. We still have events that we generate profit off of, like the Team Festival, the galas that we host, Winter Challenge, and all the other things. So just to clarify. Thank you.
Microphone on the right.
Bonjour. C'est encore par rapport à la situation du groupe Vie. J'imagine que vous êtes peut-être écœurés d'en entendre parler, mais j'ai une question un peu plus large, disons. J'ai vu que vous avez une représentante pour l'éthique, je pense que c'est vous, c'est ça? Pour l'équité. L'équité, d'ailleurs, d'accord, parfait. Donc je me demandais en fait comment spécifiquement c'est équitable justement de faire taire des gens basés strictement sur leur vision et leurs valeurs, premièrement, et ensuite encore juste de prendre position sur des questions aussi controversées comme le fait d'être pro-palestinien ou quoi que ce soit. Je vois pas vraiment comment c'est équitable.
Pour être encore, c'est quelque chose que je dis très souvent. Je suis VP Équité, qui est une job très difficile. Pas pour dire, oh, pauvre les là, mais juste, je suis VP Équité dans une organisation politique, alors ma job complète est de prendre des positions sur des sujets difficiles. Je pense que c'est aussi très important de retourner au fait que l'émotion que j'ai amenée n'était pas basée sur mes propres sentiments. À la fin de la journée, toutes les choses que je fais viennent des étudiants. Et puis, quand je suis en train de dire des choses comme l'avortement est, oui, une discussion très difficile qui ramène des expériences très traumatiques. C'est que être équitable, ça veut dire des fois qu'on prend des positions qui veut dire exclure certaines conversations. À la fin de la journée, de la même façon que si quelqu'un décide de venir sur le campus et puis dire que la violence sexuelle est correcte, moi je vais avoir besoin de prendre une position contre ça avec la fédération. On ne peut pas juste laisser les conversations qui peuvent traumatiser ou affecter les étudiants d'une façon négative arriver. Moi, dans cette situation, je vais le dire encore et puis je vais vous promettre que je ne serai jamais écœurée de parler à propos de ces sujets. Je parle à propos de ces sujets depuis très longtemps. C'est que quand je prends une position dans la discussion pro-choix ou pro-vie, c'est que moi, je veux être sûre que chaque étudiant sur ce campus se sente représenté dans les choix difficiles qu'ils auront besoin de faire et jamais est-ce que je laisserai un groupe sur ce campus essayer de mettre honte à une personne qui doit faire ses expériences, ses décisions difficiles ou avoir besoin d'aller à travers ces choses difficiles. Alors, oui, des fois, ça veut dire prendre des décisions où on doit exclure certains groupes. Comme j'ai dit, on n'accepte pas des groupes qui sont en train de venir dire qu'on doit tuer toutes les nègres. Alors, des fois, on doit prendre des décisions difficiles.
Et c'est la même chose pour la
Ah oui, j'ai pas... non.
Ah, la deuxième partie, c'est
oui, il y avait deux parties, excusez. Pour la pro-Palestine ou pro... excusez, je ne sais pas la traduction en français, pro-BDS, c'était une chose que je pense... Moi, ça fait longtemps que je prends... Ben, pas longtemps, parce que j'ai juste 22 ans, mais ça fait quelques temps que je participe dans des discussions à propos de pro-BDS, et c'était une discussion que non seulement est-ce que j'ai participé sur ce campus depuis très longtemps, parce que, très longtemps, j'utilise ce mot, depuis que je suis sur ce campus, parce que ça fait depuis que je suis sur ce campus que je suis active enseignante aux politiques étudiantes, mais c'était aussi une conversation qui était revenue quand j'ai pris cette position, et puis à la fin de la journée, j'ai été votée par les étudiants, et puis si un groupe d'étudiants vient me dire « Est-ce qu'on peut avoir cette motion ou est-ce que vous voulez me supporter? » Je vais l'amener au conseil administratif, on peut avoir une conversation à propos de ça, ça va être accepté ou pas. Vraiment, n'importe qu'est-ce que les étudiants veulent que je fasse au conseil administratif, que ce soit pas quelque chose, bien sûr qu'on est en train de dire qu'on doit tuer tous les nègres, c'est être sûr que ils sont représentés, ils sont entendus, que leur position, on a une conversation à propos des choses qu'ils veulent avoir, qu'on a une conversation à propos de. Merci.
À la gauche. Moi, j'ai une question pour les clubs, mais plus générale. Cette année, vous avez commencé à avoir des subventions qui, je pense, est une très bonne chose. Mais quels sont les autres plans que vous avez pour les clubs à l'avenir?
Je pense qu'une chose générale, c'est avoir plus d'espace. Une chose qu'on demande à chaque fois que l'université décide de construire plus de bâtiments, c'est qu'on a besoin de plus d'espace étudiant à la place du fait qu'ils sont continuellement en train de nous prendre les espaces. Une chose que j'ai aussi, parce que en essayant d'apprendre un peu à propos du système des clubs, j'ai parlé à d'autres universités, une chose que j'aimerais voir la personne qui prendra la position des clubs dans le futur, parce que ça ne sera plus la BP aux affaires d'équité après cette année, sera un système un purchasing program. Qu'est-ce que, excusez, purchasing program? Programme d'achat? Un programme d'achat où les étudiants pourront être capables d'acheter des choses pour leur club à des prix plus bas pour être capable de promouvoir les activités de leur club ou juste être capable avoir des choses à travailler sur. Parce que je sais que c'est un gros coût aussi. Ouais, deux choses.
Merci.
Microphone à droite.
SFUO was in a financial deficit last year, so how did you all manage to bring the budget back to a progressive state?
So what happened, again, when I came in, there was a staffing plan made by the HR department that was saving money, reviewing a lot of staff position, starting with that. We also went within the sponsorship area where we were lacking and having more sponsorship, but that was last year's budget. We also have a saving from last year's budget because we did a lot of cuts, and this year what happened, the way it works, when you see an SFUO contribution that comes from the admin, for example, it goes into other budgets. So imagine there is several budgets, several mini enterprises, so the SFUO admin will cover the losses of any other budget. Also, the businesses. So the businesses are here to support the SFUO financially. The Agora and PV are profitable, and we also have really good staff there that make it profitable. The bar is having a lot of challenge, but this is also a common thing within student association. Bars are always having deficits, especially us because we're close to the buy one market, and it's not the first option that students decide to go. And the cafe alternative, because of the location, needs to be more advertised, that we have better coffee than Second Cup and Starbucks. That being said, the businesses did have a better, a more, how do you say that, un chiffre plus considérable pour supporter les pertes de l'année passée. Also, the health plan premium were voted by the BOA in April, so we fixed the health plan issue. And the UPass, the way it works, UPass was always a loss in the past, and it was also according to distribution. But now moving with the new system of having those rechargeable station, we have a staffing plan that is less and takes less money, so we have less distribution agents. So yeah.
So I just wanted to ask one, I know you're supposed to not double question, but I wanted to ask one question just so I have my facts straight. There was a referendum earlier this year to institute a new multi-faith center at the cost of the students. I was wondering if you know, or if it's confidential, or you just don't have the information, who submitted that request, either a person or organization.
Thank you. So you want to know who submitted it?
Yeah.
So back in March, at the board meeting, that we had in March, there was a member of parliament. That submitted a motion. The motion was discussed at the Board of Administration and voted in favor of that the SFUO would be mandated to run a referendum at the next by-election, which just took place in October. It's our job to just make sure that people know the rules. If you have any questions related to the election itself, you may ask the elections office. But it was the Yes Committee basically that assembled people from different faiths on campus. They assembled to create a Yes Committee, they ran a referendum, and it passed.
Okay. I was just going to ask...
a member of the board, I'm so sorry.
Okay, so the full question then was, I found an article stating that it was due to overpopulation in room 125 of the UCU that was causing the problem, specifically the Muslim Student Association and prayer. But I'm wondering, because on the Student Federation website, it gives 4 other rooms for prayer that are allegedly not used, or at least used a lot less, and according to the same article that I have here from Fulcrum. So I'm wondering, instead of charging the students $110,000 a year to build a new multi-faith center, why don't we just allocate more rooms?
Okay, I just want to clarify a confusion from 2 things. First of all, I'm not sure about the numbers you're talking about. If that's what you're saying, then maybe this is the case. I'm not the right person to talk to about this. But I want to clarify the difference between a multi-faith center and a multi-faith room. So a multi-faith center is usually a place where people practice religion or pray, you know, in a peaceful manner. But the multi-faith center was not created as a praying space. It was created as a resource center for people that face discrimination on campus. They can have a space where they can go express themselves and get the right support. So that center would be represented by an executive committee composed of members that are selected or appointed by their communities, the different multi-faith communities, to defy stigmas and stereotypes towards certain faiths. When a crisis happens and a certain community or religious community is accused for false accusations of what's happening, this is a center where people can stand in solidarity, and spread that message of peace. So it is not a praying space. It's a space where people can seek resources and support I guess, religious discrimination.
Do you
Sorry.
have any answer for the $1,010 though?
Sorry, no, this is it. No follow-up questions. I was already very lenient with you. I actually wanted to raise a point that for future questions like this, if, for example, you want to fact check before asking your question, that you ask it all in one question. But thank you. Microphone on.
Hi. Along the same lines as a previous question about the promotion of the General Assembly, what is the SFUO doing to improve communications with students to ensure that students are aware of what is happening in the SFUO and to ensure that students are well-informed voters? Also, would the SFUO consider increasing face-to-face promotions such as tabling, public announcements, etc.?
Thank you very much for that question. Yeah, so basically what we do for face-to-face promotion is that you'll see the executives out at monthly town halls, frequent GAs, and lots of events organized by both our 12 service centers, but then also campaigns, socials. There's a lot of events that you'll see the SFUO execs and staff out. On top of that, each and every one of our 12 service centers and our campaigns department does a lot of tabling and class talks, so it's a huge amount of face-to-face promotion. I don't really want to talk and just repeat myself about our digital strategy going better now. You can just look it up, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, it's all linked to our website. But the one thing I will expand on, yes, we launched a new website in July, but there's some things that we're still building, right? There's some things that we're still in progress. For example, we're expanding the elections website to have like an FAQ and more information and resources for candidates. We're going to add a FAQ to the club's website. We're expanding the campaign's website, etc. So just basically making sure that our site has all of the information that students will need. And on top of that, I got a lot of feedback that our site wasn't as easy as possible to access. So we're just user experience testing it to make sure that people can find the information that they need when they need it.
Okay, so at this point I'm just going to do a final call for questions. We're just running out of time and we will have to vacate the room and tech is going to close down. So I will allow folks that are currently in line and anybody who wants to be asking, if you have a burning question, you have 30 seconds to get to the lineup and then I'm closing the speakers list. Microphone on left.
Okay, thank you. So your own constitution says that the SFUO is there to promote discussion among students. Since you have prevented us from doing that, you're not allowing us to say our part of the discussion. So if you insist on silencing our side of the discussion, do we have to be a part of the student union? May we have our $190 back?
I'll let you know real quick. Sorry, folks, I don't have a lot of sleep. I don't have enough caffeine today. Ooh, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be repeating myself, so let's try this again. The SFUO does promote conversation, yes. The SFUO does not promote conversation that can be hurtful to other people's experiences and identities. That is just going to be my simple one-line answer. And I'm hoping that the only reason that you are on this campus, not that I can make an assumption or say what you are on this campus or not, but I think that it's also important that we represent students in the multiple ways in which they interact with this university. May it be, I think the best way for me to answer that is the SFUO promotes discussion, but no, not discussion that can re-traumatize or affect the ways in which people have to access this institution or the decisions that they have to make based off of the ways in which their lives have played out.
We apologize for any time that our club has hurt people. That is never our intention. Microphone on the right.
So my question is, how will the student health plan be affected by the Ontario government's plan to introduce universal pharmacare for people under 25? So is there a plan to renegotiate that health plan, or will that be covered by the insurance? Or, just to make sure that we're not paying for things that are already covered.
Thank you for your question. I'm happy that you're bringing up this point. I received a call 2 days ago from Green Shield, and obviously they are trying to keep us, first of all, as a good customer. Being a student union has a their own advantages. So yes, what's going on is we're trying, first of all, to understand. The challenge here is to know the residency of each student, because some students, they are here just for school, so they come from Alberta, so their residence is in Alberta, the coverage is different. So I'm happy that Green Shield did call, and now we are also exploring other providers to see if there's better rates. But of course, I'm going to try to, first of all, not increase the premium this year, not propose a motion, and if it's possible to reduce it, because it is something really important. But as per today, I don't have any numbers, I don't have any renewal plan to present or any clear guidelines of what's going to happen. And it's also a conversation with the university, because they do provide us all the data for students. Thank you.
I just want to remind folks that speakers list is closed now, so don't bother queuing up because we're going to run out of time. So this is it. Microphone on the line.
Yeah, as we know, the University of Ottawa is a public institution and bound by Canadian laws. Article 2 of the Constitution says everyone has the following fundamental freedoms: freedoms of conscience and religion, freedom of thought, belief, opinion, and expression, including freedom of the press and other media communication, freedom of peaceful assembly, and freedom of association. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say somebody has the freedom not to be offended. So how can you justify your decision to ban the pro-life club on campus?
I'm gonna say one. One more time for the people in the back. The SFUO will not support any groups that attempt to shame or silence people for the experiences or decisions that they have to go through. At the end of the day, the Charter of Canadian Rights, I think that's also one thing that we're clear on, like, doesn't bind the decisions of the universities. That's just something that is a fact. Not to say that the Charter of Rights is not something that's important, but I'm going to say it one more time, like I said it again. The SFUO made a choice. It wasn't just my choice. The board voted on it. The SFUO is now pro-choice, as many other institutions are around this nation.
Okay, but we have the right to...
Sorry, no follow-up question. Microphone on the right. Thank you.
So there's already been a few men who talked. I don't know if there's somebody else who wants to take a chance. I don't know if somebody else wanted to take a turn before I go.
Sure. Well, they're not first-time speakers, but if another first-time speaker would like to ask the question, they are certainly welcome.
First-time speaker?
Yeah, go ahead.
I have just one burning question, and it's for the VP equity. When you were talking to my friend who asked a question about the pro-life movement, you said, and I quote, "You will not entertain discussions that could be hurtful to students." So why are you pro-BDS?
Your shirt is hurtful.
I'm going to answer you in your Trump pants shirt, looking at a black woman born of immigrant parents. I'm going to be very clear that the same way that your shirt is very hurtful to me, but I'm not going to tell you to take it off, is the same way that at the end of the day, I like the conversation that often happens around, we shouldn't be here to protect people's hurt feelings. I want to be very clear that these are not just hurt feelings. When I have students coming into my office talking about traumatic experiences that they have lived, this is not just something where they're like, this hurt my feelings, I'm just a little sad about it, but I may get over it. It's something that they've gone through that will change the course of their lives. It changes who they are, and this is an experience that they will live with for the rest of their lives. So once again, I'm going to say the SFUO supports all students in the difficult decisions that they will have to make in the different parts of their lives, because unfortunately they're going to have to go through them. And I cannot judge, nor can the SFUO judge, nor can anyone on this campus judge anybody for the different ways in which they have to make those decisions. And so once again, folks, the SFUO is a pro-choice organization, and we will do everything in our power to support students. If you want to, about BDS, at the end of the day, students came to me to have a conversation about the ways in which the BDS movement supports them. Like I answered previously as well, if a student group wants to come to me to bring a motion or a discussion forward to the Board of Administration to have it added to the policy manual of the SFUO, I will support them in that conversation because their ideas deserve to be discussed.
This is also along the lines of these motions that have been put forward. I'm super in favor of them. I think they're really good motions. In those lines, I don't think there'd actually be, like, the SFUO wouldn't need to support like an anti-gay organization that would be going against the freedom of expression. That's a huge tangent. The question I actually wanted to ask was, what was the reasoning behind having these motions done at the board instead of brought forward at the General Assembly?
I think that the same way that a lot of motions are brought to the board, they happen as they happen. The board is meant to be a body that discusses students' concerns, and we vote on making changes to the organization. It can be something that is brought to the General Assembly, but at the end of the day, both of them are equal in their parts of including students in student politics and the ways in which the SFUO runs. And so they can be brought at either one, but there wasn't it wasn't like we'll bring this to the board, not to the GA. It was just the board was one of the means of communicating that.
Microphone left. Actually, just kind of building off what Layla just mentioned about how we have the GA and the VOA as forms of student engagement. I think it's well aware that engagement by students in student politics here is kind of weak. And so I'm wondering, this could be answered just by Hattie or by Axel or anyone, in terms of events that we hold, and campaigns and political stances we take as an institution. Do you think truly that the SFUO is making severe efforts to get input and feedback from the entire student body as to what kind of stances we should take, or what kind of events we should hold, or what kind of campaigns we should run, or is there the possibility that, like, what the execs are wanting right now is the trend that is going on? So if so, can you explain to me how you're making sincere efforts to get feedback from the entire student body?
Yeah. I think just specific to the motion, a lot of the time, yes, we still have a lot of work to do when it comes to engagement of students on our campus. We see it a lot of the time in our elections and just the ways in which students engage. Specific to the motions and things like that, I was asked what was my opinion on that motion, and it's important to realize that us as executives may have our own personal ideas on things, but those don't have to necessarily count in the decisions that we make because we were voted in by students, and that's who we have to represent. Whether a student comes and is like, hey, we want to present this motion, and it's completely against my values, at the end of the day, I have to present that motion. And so a lot of the time, I think that it's just, sometimes, unfortunately, it's a small group of people that may not be generally representative of the student body, but it'll come in small groups, and sometimes it's just people coming to us to have their voices heard. But I'll let the others also add.
To follow,
So how do you then just want to add something?
just to follow up as well, you asked the question sort of, is the SFUO doing severe efforts to engage students? I'm going to say yes. Is there a room for improvement? I'm also going to say yes. There's always a room for improvement, and thanks to your feedback and forums like this that we're able to know what students want. But I just want to also call back that we're always, as execs, or SFUO, striving to engage more students, whether it was by an introduction of new town halls or extending question periods in general assemblies when we don't have quorum, or proposing referendums for students to come and vote, or when we boost our elections turnout over the past general elections and by-elections. But also it's really important for all of us to realize that the SFUO is not only 5 executives or 6 executives, it's 36,000 students, including the clubs, the fed bodies. There are mass emails that go out, there's a website, we have Facebook events for everything, social media all over. And I know, again, there's always room for improvement, but if you want to know about within the resources that we have and the capacities that we also, can handle, we are doing our severe efforts at the moment.
I just want to, we often have that question, what are you doing to get to that goal? But the real question, we're explaining each time it's the same kind of answer. We explain the steps that we do and how we move to, how we're trying to get more people at an event, more people at GA. But the real question is, what would you do differently? If instead of pointing fingers at what you're doing, is it okay or not? give us just suggestion. We don't get a lot of students coming to our office and telling us, hey, stop doing what you're doing, go table now. And also revamping, the governance review was revamping the exec positions to allow them to be more outside, so to do class talks, to find themselves connecting more with the students instead of being in their office and doing admin work. But the problem, I was not really involved, and I'm not involved. I was not involved in politics before, in student politics. I got interested by the SFUO just to bring something new. I thought that my ambition is to get a lot of people in this room or a lot of people at a concert. But the nature of our campus is also something that we need all to realize. The UO show is a university event. They got way less people attending than our ELE festival, for example. Or I'm being really honest, you can ask the president, the university begged the SFUO to get people coming at their football games, basketball games, hockey games. So whether it's sports, events, concert, or GA, I think the students, we need also together to find a way to get students together and not just 5 people are trying to do admin work and at the same time class talks, tabling, to rassembler 35,000 students. To be honest, we wish to have a quorum today, but it took me a long time to do my presentation. I wish that I could present it to many students and not just, and I'm really thankful to have you folks, but I would rather have more students than just 100 or 200 students.
So my question would be to, now that you've told me that we're building a more of a prayer center rather than a meeting place for different faiths, I'm wondering why a secular and publicly funded university needs to spend, again, $1,100, and that's just from the amount of students times how much it would cost per semester.
Sorry, I failed to hear the first part of your question.
My question is, why does a secular and public university in Ontario need to pay for a prayer room when there is, I know, at least 1 synagogue, at least 3 mosques, and at least half a dozen churches, all within walking distance of campus?
Okay. Your question sort of answers itself, to be honest, but I'm going to answer it more clearly. It was a referendum. So as a student federation, that doesn't matter what the university's religious stands are. As a student federation, when we have a motion proposed at our board, voted by the Board of Administration to propose a referendum, that's the most perfect democratic process that students can have their voices in. So just like there was a yes committee, I did not see a no committee. By all means, there could have been people that believe this university is secular, could have formed a no committee and went against it, but there was no one promoting the opposite opinion. It was also still at the end of the day ballots that students could have had their voices to participate. There was about 1,000-something students that voted no and 2,000-something students that voted yes. It's a democratic process. This is the whole point behind the referendum. So if you're asking me why this university is secular and promoting something like this, I'm also going to jump into another point. As a student union, we're striving to make sure that all students are represented equally and that people who face different sorts of discrimination, because I could never put myself in someone else's shoes if I do not have their similar identities or I haven't taken the same path of life. So when these people are going through experiences and they are asking for a service, resource center where they can seek support so they can feel safer on this campus, I don't think it is a valid argument to say this is a secular university, we cannot create safer spaces for these students. But to answer your question again, it was a democratic process, students voted in favor of it.
And final question.
Hi, so I'm actually on the Board of Administration, so I have the opportunity to ask a lot of questions at the board. But this question is just basically because I want Axel to have a chance to answer a question. No, it's a good question. So a big part of your mandate is to run tuition fees, so campaigns, to try to stop the raising of tuition fees. So I was just wondering what specific strategies do we have in place to trying to keep those tuition fees as low as possible? Thanks.
So, as you may know, we have our Fight the Fees campaign coming very soon, and it's a campaign that wanted students to lead. So we're gonna have a call out very soon to have a committee based on students. We'll be part of that committee as well, but we'll make sure to have student input and voices, and make sure that they're more involved in the rallying of their peers, just so we can make sure to have all perspective at the table. The day for action is going to be sometime in January. There's going to be a lot of promotion going around that. We're wrapping up on our campaign for the fall, and then we'll be starting to work on the second semester very soon. Thank you.
Well, on this note, we can adjourn this General Assembly. Thank you to everybody who came out this evening. Safe travels home, and until next semester.